And welcome, guys, to yet another edition of Work With Me Live. It's Jeff from Home Renovation DIY, and I'm here to help, well, work with you guys, get some things done around the house, hang out together, talk about paint and drywall today. Really is what we're going to do with. I'm going to show you a process. I've got a wall behind me in my trailer that's covered in paneling, and the goal today is to install the drywall, do all the taping, sand it, prime it, and then put the first coat of paint on. Because what I'm going to be doing eventually is adding wallpaper to make that an accent wall. So today's live is just a few hours of hanging out, talking paint and drywall. I'm going to show some tips and some tricks, get you up to speed, answer some questions. We're going to interact. I got my monitor up here. I got Matt back in Ottawa. I got two cameras going. We're going to flip back and forth, get some close-up shots for you. It should be really interesting. Hopefully everything goes according to plan. And if not, bear with us because we've got our team ready to jump in and deal with our technological issues if they arise. Now, first of all, let me just clear off my screen. There we go. You see, we got Existential Paint in the house, part of the membership program. Cheers, Paint. Good to see you again. Yeah, free life. We're almost 3 million subs. It'll happen someday, sooner or later. We're not going to try to use this live stream as a way to squeeze the last 4,000 subs into that category. That'll happen in due time. But today we are going to be doing this. Richard wants to know if I offer physical classes. Not yet. We're really taking a look at it to see if that's something that we can do. We might even move this live work concept into an atmosphere. We could have a live studio audience, and then we could have people join us and learn to do the tools and to get some hands-on training. I don't know. We'll talk about that down the road. Anyway, Brian is here, member in the house. Cheers, Brian. Great to have you here. I've got paint and drywall. I'm in the bedroom, 10 by 12. I've got two computers, monitors, cameras, lights, all my tools. Mud is just absolutely crammed in here. You don't see it because I've got it all from here forward. But this is going to be awesome. So what we're going to do is just relax, have a good time. We're talking a little bit about what's going on with the processes. If you got questions as we go along, every time I finish a coat of mud, okay, we're going to take a few minutes of break time so that I can interact, answer some questions, possibly even take some phone calls. While I'm thinking of that, I'm going to put my phone on the old proverbial airplane mode so we don't get interrupted until it's time. But we're going to I have a fan blowing. You probably can't hear it. We got really good sound cancellation technology over here. We're going to use quick set mud. And so I'm going to apply a coat, take a break, answer some questions. That'll be fun. There we go. Lars is here. What is Mara making? Here we go. Sherry's here. Member, Sherry Crates. Trying to figure out how to send pictures to you per your request after seeing my post. Sherry, you got to jump into our members forum. And if you're not sure about that, you go to the homepage on YouTube, go under the community tab, and you're a member. So you can hit the member button, and then you can get a code there to go into the DIY crew forum. Okay. And if you have questions, there's an email there as well. You can email the forum tech people. And my wife is actually the one who's going to help you get all that worked out. But fear not, we are making a change in the near future to make things more streamlined and deal with a service provider that's actually integrated with YouTube. So it'll just be one click, no more pain, right? We did the forum because we had no other way to get questions with pictures. So we're moving forward in a new direction in the near future. So membership is going to get even better, and looking forward to that. David says he hasn't watched us in a while, but a bit. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm a member for a while. Well, great. See you again. David, welcome to the show. This is something no one else is doing. We're going to work today. We're going to work live. We're going to get some work done. We're going to talk about the program and the process and hopefully accomplish the goal today, which is to drywall this wall, tape it, sand it, prime it, and paint it. Now, let's just get started. Jump into this. Got to get some work going. We got a good little crowd here today. This is awesome, guys. So cheers to everybody who's watching. If you have questions, I'm going to be over here working. And I can talk to this camera, okay? And I'll turn around every once in a while. Matt, you can throw a question up whenever you see me staring at this camera. And then I can, bam, exactly. I can take a question and I can go back to my work and answer it, okay? And that way I can keep my mind and my body busy at the same time. And hopefully it'll be somewhat entertaining. Let's just get down to the bare bones here. I've got about a 12-foot wall. And my ceiling is at 89 inches. Yeah, that's great. Half that is 44 and a half. So I got my trusty marker here, 44 and a half. inches is going to be each sheet of drywall. Now, you already know drywall comes in 48. That means we got to trim down every side. What that does is, because this is an accent wall and it's a trailer, I'm going to be adding a trim up top and cove molding in the corners and a baseboard at the bottom when we're done. Okay, this is how that's going to work out. So I'm going to install my drywall horizontally right over the paneling. No need to mess with this. I've done enough work in this house now. I know that the insulation is in the wall. Everything is dry. It's a pretty good little building. So we're going to be just fine. And for people who are wondering, why are you doing it that way? There's such a time when you're going to be putting on 2 layers of drywall. Whenever you're doing soundproofing, okay? Sometimes you're going to work building your office, something along that sort. And it's not uncommon to use 2 layers of drywall, especially in commercial construction. So all we got to do is locate the studs, right? Well, here we go. We're going to have a stud right here. We know that. And we know that paneling is built so that these grooves line up with the 16-inch on center. So all we got to do is find out if they did their job right. I've got a little bit of a drill bit here. We're going to drill through. And if it feels like solid wood compared to this, okay, we know there's a stud there. So that's a stud, okay? Make that nice and dark. Now I know that 16 on center on these panelings is the next one over. Second gap over. Let's check. Confirmed. 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 Now we go up here. Because when you frame, the 16 on center doesn't stop. Nope, not there. And it's right next to it. So these guys missed their 16 on center. Not sure why, but they did. And there's wood there. Okay. There's my next mark just to the side of that. Bam, bam, bam. So I got a stud here. I got a stud here. Okay. And the reason I'm marking this is to make my life really super simple when I go to install my drywall. Now I have a clue where my wood is. Now it's time for me to grab my first sheet of drywall and install it. So this is a great way to carry drywall under the arm. Squeeze it like a bird wing, okay? And you just lean. Done. You don't have to pick it up. You don't have to bend over. It doesn't have to be painful. Now, in order to do this, you'll notice I had 2 receptacle plugs down at the bottom, okay? And what we're going to have to do is unscrew those and pull them out. I've already flipped the breaker, so we're going to be good. Joe Sumter's here in the house. Hey, Jeff, I just wanted to say, huge fan. Whenever I go to start a home project, I always check your videos. Appreciate that, Joe. That's awesome, man. Now, I've already tripped the breaker off, okay? So we're going to be fine. And I'm just going to unscrew them, pull them out, measure the box, cut a hole, pre-cut. And then we'll just slide over top. And we got a little bit of love here from Gautier, Klaus. Hello, I did my finish layer while I was drywalling and I got an air bubble under my paper in the corner. What do I do now? If you get a bubble, it's this simple. Take your knife, cut what we call a fisheye. Okay? Put your knife underneath the paper, boom, 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 and you can just peel it right off. No more bubble. Okay? It's that simple. Now, if you want to put tape on it, you can, but it's not really necessary. If the bubble is less than 1 inch long, just cut it out and fill it in with mud. You'll be just fine. Cheers. All right. Now, let's get back to work because you'd be surprised how fast a day goes by if you're busy talking and you're not working. So, oh, I love it. These are all flathead screws. They are really difficult to work with. And part of it's because my screwdriver is really dull. I've been using it for so many years as a chisel instead of a screwdriver. All righty. Wow. This is the one time in my life I wish this was a Phillips. And you know how much I hate those Phillips screws. All right. Here we go. Now, I'm just going to pull the box out. I'm going to lay it flat. Okay. Now it's out of the way. So now I can cut my rectangle and just slide the drywall over top of it. All right. Now, the way we do this, guys, is really simple. I'm going to use a black marker for some of this. We're going to measure from the wall out to 8 feet, okay, which is right here. Now, my stud is at 93 inches, okay? So I'm actually going to cut the drywall 93 inches. And this is the key. What we want to do is have a pencil here. Yeah, I know I have one around here somewhere. Ah. So many tools. Here we go. So I want to cut this at 93 inches. Okay. But this is 93. It's in the middle of my wall. I'm going to have a butt joint. Now, butt joints are interesting because the best butt joint you can do is 2 factory edges. So I'm 93 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure from my factory inch in the other direction so that I can cut off the other end. Okay. Boom. There we go. But the other consideration is I also have to cut down to 44.5, right? So I got to take 3.5 inches off. So if I'm taking 3 inches off here, I'm going to want to flip the drywall. So instead of cutting here, I am going to measure from this side. Okay, 93 inches. I know that's going to get real confusing real quick for some of us. That's all right. We're just going to do the old-fashioned way. I don't have a T-square here, so we're going to take my Olfa knife, all right, and my tape measure. And what I do is I hold the side of the blade against my tape measure, okay, and then I can retract it to whatever my number is. And let's get this leaning on me. We're going to set it to 3.5. I'm going to lock the tape measure, okay, set my finger here, and then just run down, let the weight of the board fall on me. There we go. That's a straight cut. All right. Now we'll snap that. And then we'll cut from behind, coming all the way back. And just so we can deal with the garbage easily enough. There we go. Okay. Step 1. Now, what that does is it gets rid of the bevel. So I don't have a bevel at the bottom and I won't have a bevel at the top, which means I don't have to fill those bevels with mud as part of this process, which is awesome. So now we're going to take our drywall and we're going to flip it upside down and we're going to spin it around. Here we go. Now we got our first sheet. But we have one more thing to do. We have to trace out where this electrical box is. Okay. So off the ground, it is going to be 6 and 9. Just draw it right on the drywall. And then from the corner, 20.5, 22.5. We'll start with that. Okay. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect on the first shot. Remember, the goal is to get it installed. I can always trim that up with a knife later. Right now, I just need to get this board on the wall because until I get my first coat of mud on, my clock is just wasting away, right? So I've got my rotary cutout tool here. We'll use that to take care of this mess. There we go. All right. Now we're going to slide this over and then slide that hole over top of the plug. Bam. All right. Perfect every time. Now, the other thing I have to do is I'm going to use a laser level because when you're in a situation like this, you don't want to be coming up a hill and then down a hill because the next layer, we're going to stagger our joints. So we want to have this perfectly horizontal. So I've got my laser level hooked up over here. Let's see if we can get it on the right spot. Okay. There we are. Not bad. Oh. You know what I didn't do? I'm so busy here already. I've already screwed this up. Yes, that's right, Nick. I didn't cut it to 93. That's okay. Now we're going to get to learn something because we want to have a straight cut. A butt joint should be nice and straight. So we're going to have to do it the old-fashioned way. We're going to cut it off at 3 inches again from the good side, and we're going to have to create a good side. And that, kind of stinky, but it's going to work out just fine. All right. And you can do this from both directions, right? All right. Okay. Now, let's get that back in place. Into the corner. There, now I'm on my 93 line. The only thing I don't like is it's not perfectly straight. So here we got a tool. This is a drywall rasp, okay? It's like a cheese grater for drywall. And at the bottom, I obviously have a curve. I don't like it, so just going to run that back. Try to make this cut as smooth as possible, okay? So that we don't have an ugly mess when we do our butt joint. All right, there we go. Now, oh, yeah. Probably should have loaded the pouch before I started, eh? Well, I just picked this gun up today. And might I mention that a lot of the tools that I'm using in the video here today, and in this whole series, when I'm done this trailer renovation, we're going to be doing a live giveaway show on the 19th of December. 19th? I'm pretty sure it's the 19th. It's going to be a Tuesday. Now, let's have to set the depth on this thing first. So, if you've seen tools in these shows, there, that's good. Lock that in. I'm going to be doing a live show and giving them all away because I'm going to have to go back to Canada, and I just don't have room in the truck to drive it all home. And I've already got all these tools at home, so that's the plan. Now, coming over here, see there's my red line? I'm going to lift this drywall up. No, I can't do it. Wow, this is just really kind of nutty. I'm dealing with the fact that none of these walls are level or plumb, shall we say. No big surprise, right? So I'm going to lift this side to the line first. There we go. There we go. All right. Whenever you got a situation like that where you pull the screw out, always put it in a new hole. Don't use the old hole, okay? That's not going to serve you well at all. And of course, code for drywall is 5 screws on a butt joint. All right? 5 screws on every sheet on the 4-foot side. top, bottom, middle, and then split the difference. Even if you cut it down a little bit. Good practice to be in. Okay, now we're going to mark the studs and then get working on our second sheet. All righty. Well, there we go. Okay. Okay. Now the next sheet we're going to measure 3.5 off of. First, we're going to get that length right. And we got to do the other plug. Okay. Where did my screwdriver go? Here we go. Yeah, Lana, you can use a regular drill. I have one right here. I got the Phillips bit on, so I'll demonstrate for you. You don't have to buy the fancy tools, guys. That's one of the things about doing renovations at home. You don't have to use professional tools. You can still get a good result. It just takes a lot longer, okay? That's all. And so if budget is more of an issue than your time, by all means, or if you're just doing one project and you don't want to start buying professional tools because you're not planning on doing a whole ton of drywall work in your house, then just use a regular drill. An impact drill, a regular drill driver, they all work. Okay, there we go. All right, now, this is going to be really difficult for me to see here. I'm actually making this more difficult for you guys at home. 1 second. There we go. All right, so now I'm going to measure butt joint using a horizontal line. I'm at 61.5. Now, because I'm using an inside corner mold when I'm done, I go 61.25. Give yourself the mercy, okay? There we go. And we'll do this. 61.5. That's just lovely. All right. Well, let's show you how we do that. There we go. So the first thing I want to do is cut that 3.5 again. That is going to be key to success. There we are. You know, drywall's not that tricky, you know. Really all comes down to just having a good understanding of the building materials, the practices, the techniques, the tools. Once you understand how it all goes together, it's actually quite simple. Yeah, there you go. All right. And again, we got to flip this up and swing it around without knocking away over all my equipment. All right. Here we go. Now, 61.25 from the good corner. Right here. And then 61.5 for the bottom. Now, here's a trick when you're doing a line on an angle. You can use your tape measure as a straight edge, and you can draw it right off the tape. Right? Especially since we were using a little bit of mercy. And then you just freehand the cut, following the line. Put the knife in the pencil mark, and you look ahead. Your brain knows where your hand is. Keep your eyeballs looking 6 inches ahead. And you should come up with something pretty simple. Now, the harder you push the knife, the more it's going to move all over the place. Okay? Remember, we're only cutting paper. If you're trying to cut through the drywall, you're going to give yourself a coronary trying to get the project done. just to score, light, and you're done. Okay? Now, that's officially garbage. I don't really have anywhere to put that. There we go. Now, it's a little rough. I get it. But not to worry. Whoop. We also have this straight edge here. We're going to measure off of that to find our plug, okay? Here we go. 41, 43. And this should be 6 and 9 again. Yep. $41, $43, 6, 9. All right. Trace it out just to visualize. Get our cutout tool. Beautiful. Now you can use a handsaw if you want to. The cutout tool I picked up the other day, it was $179 without a battery because I already own batteries. That's a pretty good deal for a good tool. If you got metal framing, you can use self-tapping screws. All right. Now, how close are we here? Not too shabby. I'm a little bit tight. Oh, look at that. That's a bad corner. And I can't lift that and snap that in. All right. Yep. I did not give myself enough mercy somewhere along the way here. So, you know what? I'm going to just use the rasp. Yeah. Let's try that. All right. So here we are. I'll show you. Regular drill. The secret with a regular drill is you don't have a depth setter. So you got to make sure that you set the screw at the right depth. Okay. That can be frustrating. This drywall screw gun has a depth setter on it. Let me just show you. Okay, little machine here. You can unlock and lock the collar, and then you can adjust, you can raise or lower the depth setting on the tool, right? And so that makes for really quick installation. And there we go. Like I'm pretty sure I had that set. Now, we're going to deal with that broken corner in just a minute. Things are going to happen. In a perfect world, things are cut and installed plumb and square, and all those under wonderful things. But the reality is, nobody ever really gets things perfect anymore. Definitely not in this house anyway. This has been a real brutal house. They built these things so fast, they just slap them together. All right. Now, yeah. Okay, the drywall half-inch off the floor. That's in order to provide moisture break if you have concrete or in a basement. But if you're not in a concrete or in a basement, then setting it right on the carpet in this scenario is fine. It's still a half-inch off the floor. And you could always install, peel this off and put in vinyl or something after the fact. And there's still expansion, contraction room underneath that drywall. So yeah, it's good to have a little bit of gap. Now, We're going to do another sheet here. Now that we've got our window area marked, okay, this is going to have to be cut out. This is going to have to be cut out. We want to go the other direction this time, as far as 8 feet will take us, which is over here. So this becomes our new joint, okay? And that measurement is, I have a new tape here. This one's starting to get a little bit too loosey-goosey. 93.5. But because of that corner, yeah, I'm going to go 93.25, okay? So this is going to be easier because we're cutting off the top this time. All right, which is good. So 93.25, we'll measure from the right. This time we'll get a factory edge, and we'll see the difference in the taping. $93.25. Always write things down as you go so you have a reference. And let's double check to the ceiling here. I got 45. Just under 45. 44.5. That's nice and not consistent. Okay. 45, 44.5. Of course, it's going to be different, eh? All right. So I'm taking off 3.5 here. I'm taking off 4 inches over here. Sorry, 3 inches over here. In the middle, I'm taking off 3.25. Like I said, I don't have a straight line here. I don't have a chalk line here. Totally going Rambo on this. But I do have mercy because we're adding trim at the top afterwards, right? There's my line. We'll cut that and install it. All right. Hoorah. Did I cut the end yet? Nope. Almost did that to myself again, eh? All right. Yeah. Practice makes perfect, eh? Here we go. All right. How are we for lining up on that joint? That's actually not bad at all. Now, this is more important than over there. So we're going to make sure that one's perfect. All right. Cheers, Goatsy, eh? Gotta love that. There's a super chat. Can you help me? The bubbles. Oh, he's got drywall bubbles again. Let me get another screw in here so this thing doesn't fall over on my head, all right? All I need is a delivery driver to walk in and open the front door, create a vacuum in the house. I'm going to pull a sheet of drywall right on top of me. All right, so can I help you? The bubbles are under the tape. I used a corner bead that has a piece of metal attached on the tape and the bubbles. Yeah, okay. Well, then you've got to cut where the tape edge is, lift that edge, okay, and force new mud underneath there. You obviously just didn't have enough mud in there to make contact. That's all it is. If there's not enough mud, it'll dry with air, and then you got a bubble. There's nothing you can do about that. So take your knife, cut that line right next to the edge of the, because you're going to have a outside corner, a piece of metal, and then your paper will finish here. So you just cut right here next to your paper. Take a knife, all right, and lift it. Grab yourself a 4-inch, put some mud on it, okay, like this, and then put the edge of the knife underneath, and then just run it down there and squeeze it all in. And you can force mud in behind there, and you can lightly press over top. Those paper metal corner beads are great if you have really good square, true corners. If you don't, it's a bit of an issue. All right. Why does a graphics card cost $100? What the heck do I know about computers? All righty, here we go. Okay. I was hoping at the end of the first hour, I would have all the drywall on, and that'll keep me on schedule. I still got a couple minutes. I'm going to take a quick break, have a drink. Matt, why don't we throw up a couple of questions here, see what I'm missing out on? Can you explain why I stagger the joint? Elena, that's a great question. Here's the deal. When I do my drywall, I'm going to be using this. It's a 4x10 trowel. Okay. And so I'm going to be filling this tapered joint, right? And I'm going to be creating a hump over the tape here, spreading it out over a few feet. All right. If I spread a hump out over a few feet from here to the bottom, and then over here, I do the same. What happens is we're trying not to make the wall smooth. We're trying to get the illusion of smooth. Let me go to this question. This camera over here, Matt. The illusion of smooth means that I need to make the light bend and not create a shadow. If I go floor to ceiling, then I have areas in the home where I'm going to walk, where I'm going to see that shadow floor to ceiling. By breaking it up, your field of vision is only so big, okay? Especially when you're a few feet back from a wall. So by breaking it up, okay, it just makes things flow better. And that way, I can widen this joint out really well, and if widen this joint out specific to the home. So if I have this stud is really warped, and this one isn't, I only have to fight with the bad joint. Otherwise, I'd have to fill the whole thing floor to ceiling for no reason, just because there's a bit of a bow on one side. All right? Staggering joints also makes everything stronger, because now we're connecting all of these studs, multiple sheets, and we're moving that gap around. Whenever you put the gap floor to ceiling on the same stud, you run the risk of getting a crack all the way from top to bottom. All right? By staggering it, you're creating really good structural strength from this stud to this stud, bypassing here, so that this one isn't going to move around. But you go floor to ceiling, you run into situations sometimes where you're just a little off, and all your screws are just barely catching the wood. You get a little bit of vibration, and then you get a crack top to bottom, okay? That's why we do it. All right. Okay, Buddy Quaid, are those windows or doors? Yeah, I'm going to cut them in just a minute. They're both windows. And I taped them over with some paper because the sunlight was just, it's too bright down here in Florida, right? Like, it's a killer. Skim coat over the wallpaper and remove the drywall. All right, that's not wallpaper, that's wood paneling, but I get the idea. That would be a lovely way to finish off the day, wouldn't it? But then, if I just wallpapered over top of it, my wallpaper would have all of these grooves. And you can't skim coat over top of that paneling because the moisture gets in there, it starts to delaminate, and it just creates a hell of a mess. Okay, let's get the last measurement now. From wall, 5.5 feet. 5.5 feet will come from the good corner. There we go. 5.5 feet. Okay, honey. 5.5 feet. All right. And I'm going to cheat. Yeah. I've got a piece of leftover drywall here. if you're ever in a situation where you don't have a straight edge, take a factory edge of a piece of drywall, okay, and use that as a straight edge. It's a great way to cheat. Put that on that pencil mark down there. Come on, honey. There we are. And boom. All right. Okay. Now you can also have a T-square. Other drywall videos I've done online, guys, I've shown you the value of a T-square for homeowners. It's it sits on top and gives you a perfect square. Gives you something to mark against. It's a great tool if you're a homeowner. $20, it's aluminum. It's just a hand tool. They sell it at the Home Depot. Okay. Recommend picking one up. I keep my garbage under control around here. There we are. Hey. Oop. I have to cut the top again. Almost didn't do it. Okay. Let's go. 44 and a half. 44 and a half. So we're going to take off 3 and a half again. Love these knives because it only takes one hand to make them work. Okay. And if you let that weight fall towards you, you get a nice scuff. There we go. Right. Factory edge to factory edge. Should be cut to fit, I think. All right. Here we go. Close that gap in the middle there. Very good. Okay. All righty. Here we are. Right on schedule. Okay. There we go. Now, when you're doing your butt joint, you want to put it in your screw, 5-degree angle, and you want to stitch it. You're sharing a stud. Okay, so want a bit of an angle. Make sure that you're getting good contact with the stud in behind. And once the two sheets are there together, you'll notice the drywall has a tendency to want to break off a little bit around the screw. Having that gap closed keeps the drywall from breaking, gives you a better bond. Okay. There we go. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then one more set up here. No, we're doing good enough. Okay. All right. Now we get to fill. But before we fill all that up, what do you say we cut it out? And we're just going to use the rotozip. Okay. There's a rule when you're rotozipping. And I'm just going to do it this way. Actually, you know what? Where's the best camera for this one? Right here. Okay. So we have a box. Can we see that okay? Yeah. And if your tool is on the outside of a box, you go clockwise. But if it's on the inside of the box, you go counterclockwise. All right? That reduces the wear and tear and the heat buildup on the bit. So because it's a window frame, I'm actually going to be on the inside, so I'm going to cut counterclockwise. Okay. Ah, you gotta love a new tool. This one, the bit shrunk inside of itself. Yeah. I'm not sure if I'm crazy about this design, to be honest with you. Wow. Guys. You know, every once in a while you buy a new tool, and the darn thing just does not perform the way you expect it to. So you got a little pedal here that you can press. Get a wrench on here. I'm supposed to be able to turn this thing, and it should pinch the bit, but it's just sliding right out. So, yeah, that's a fail. I checked the box, but it doesn't have a smaller collar for the bits that came in the box for the tool. So, Dwalt, you guys really screwed this one up. Maybe we can make this work. Let's try again. Yeah, that's not working. So now we got our work cut out for us, eh? Okay. Well, we know we got a window. So let's just start old school. First thing we got to do is be able to get in here, because then we can trace out the dimension from the backside with our knife. Yeah, it's just running all over the damn place. Okay, well, that's not going to work. Okay. There we are. Oh, boy. Kind of like running into problems like this, though. Right? I mean, knowing how to solve problems that you run into, having a few tricks up your sleeve isn't such a bad thing. Okay, so I'm just tracing the backside, creating a crack. Oops. Cutting the crease. The good news is I'm going to be cutting new jambs and new window casing. So even if I make a bit of a butchered mess here, it's not going to be a problem. Don't have a lot of room to work with. There we go. Okay. Well, this little mishap is going to be setting me behind schedule a little bit. Love it. All right. You know what I should do is I should just stop this fooling around, and I should just get the rest of the screws in and start taping, because I can always cut these out while the mud is drying. That would be better use of my time at this point. All right. Okay, we are on the clock. All right. Just going to grab my gun now and get the rest of these screws in. All right. Now, it really is kind of simple. I like to just eyeball it, hold it, lift it straight up, and throw in a screw. And then try to keep them straight. Oh. I'm almost tall enough for this room. Go. Alrighty. Okay. I've learned over the years that I tend to drift left. So now I know how to compensate. All right. This might take a couple more minutes. Now I want you to throw me up a question. I can comment on it while I'm throwing the screws in. Why not hang the sheet vertically? Yeah. You know what? I get that question a lot. Truth is, going horizontal, it actually has less taping. And I know we get a butt joint. But for today's exercise, I could have done vertical, but it wouldn't have been as educational for the group. So I decided that I would just go with a horizontal because it's more universally accepted. But you're right, if you're only doing one wall and you want to do floor to ceiling joints, you're right ahead. But I'll be honest with you, the older you get, the less time you want to be spending bent over by the floor. Like, let's face it, if every 4 feet you got to go from the floor all the way up to the ceiling, it can be a lot of extra work. All right. The majority of taping usually takes place through the middle of the wall. And then it's just a couple of extra pieces of butt joint. Not a big deal. All right. There we go. Okay. Let's do and more screws, guys. And then we are ready to move on. By the way, if you're ever in a situation where you're doing 2 layers of drywall, and let's say you're doing fire separation and it's 5/8 drywall, you take the total thickness of your drywall assembly, okay, and then you add up to 1.5 inches for the length of the drywall screw to go in the stud, and you're automatically going to meet the code of providing enough space for your electrical. I like to go 1.25 inches max, but you got 2 pieces of 5/8, you got 1.25 inches. You get a 2.5 inch screw. That way you're only 1.25 inside the stud. Okay? You'll guarantee you never hit a wire as long as the electrician's done their job right. And if you do hit a wire when you're using the right screw, it's the electrician who's on the hook for not installing his wiring up to code. That's right. If you do hire an electrician and they put their wires too close to the front of the stud, and they don't put a protector plate, and a screw severs that wire, that's on them. And in our business, we call that a back charge. They have to come pay for the cost of opening the wall, doing whatever repair. And a lot of times that can be quite expensive because you don't even find out that he cut a wire till well after the walls are all finished. Doing rework on a finished home, it's really expensive. So electricians are very careful to drill their holes the right depth to avoid that from happening. Because making a hole in the wrong spot can end up costing them $1,000 or more. And they got to be the one coming out to repair, do the repair as well. So it's a wasted trip on a job site that you otherwise were finished. Okay, let's get a few over here, and then we'll start taping. All right. Okay, so I got a stud here. Now I'm looking at the top of my plate. You probably can't see that very well from there. Oh well. I can tell where they nailed the stud. Oh. Can't tell on the other one yet because I haven't cut the hole out, but we'll get a couple of screws in here to start with. Okay. Bam. And that is good enough for me to tape at this point. Beautiful. It's going to take 2 seconds and clean up my bloody mess over here. Okay. Alrighty. That's more like it. Now we don't need this on. Let's get the speaker wire. Okay. Whew. That is freeing. Okay. What is he using again to insert the screws? Cheryl, this is a drywall screw gun. I'll bring it over to the camera and I'll show you. This is a pistol grip handle. So it sits right here, your thumb and your index finger. Okay? And then you can use one of these fingers to pull the trigger. And it's got a little design here. You can set it up so that you pull the trigger once and it stays on. And then every time there's pressure put on the tip, it spins. Okay? So here, I'll demonstrate that. It's a little louder, so I don't generally use it, but for the purpose of explaining the tool, let's do this. We'll set it. All right? And until I push, nothing happens. And then it's just ready to go. So I would use hearing protection if you're going to use that setting. All right? But it's a great little gizmo. And it also has the depth setter on it, so you can adjust it for your situation. And great little tool. All right. Hoy, let me see here. It is 1 hour in. The drywall's on, ready to tape. I'm kind of on schedule, except I still got to cut out that other window. All right. For the drywall today. There she is. Let me get my taping knives organized. We're going to be using the mesh tape. And the reason that we're going to be using the mesh tape is because we're using quickset mud. And the quickset compound is designed to be used in conjunction with mesh tape, not the regular all-purpose, okay? So let's just get a clean break here. The ends usually have lost their stick. Now, this corner is a little damaged. So we're going to just open that up. Okay? This corner is definitely damaged. Remember when that happened. We're going to open that up. Okay? Take it back to where it's solid. Okay? There we go. That's done. I know it seems nutty, but now it's got an adhesive backing. So you just set it on the wall, press it in place, and don't make too much of a fuss about it. Now I got a window there, so I'm not going to run the whole joint. It'll just make a mess for me when I go to cut it off later. Okay, and the way that we cut this is really simple. Using your 4-inch knife. There we go. You can press it in, all right? Bring it up. You hold it against the drywall and you tear on an angle. Okay, same thing here. Now that I've got this massive hole that I got to fix. Okay, we're just going to run a few lines of tape. And then that will solve all of that mess. Okay, here we go. Oh, if it doesn't stick right, just take it off and put it back on. Here we go. All right, and one on the edge over that corner. Why is that giving me a hard time? Nothing ever goes smooth when you're on camera. That's just the rule of life, isn't it? Here we go. Okay, taping is done. Yay, that's my first coat. Let's introduce our compound today. We have Easy Sand 20. All right, here's my product. Yep, this is right. This is going to be nice and quick. I'm going to show you my custom formula for making mud. All right. And in order to do that, I need an extra pail. Sorry, guys, I'll be right back. The one thing I missed was having a pail. There it is. Ay, 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 ay. Live with nobody. There we go. I don't know what I was thinking. I was setting up and I've got 3 pails full of water, but I got to have something kind of close to empty in order to mix. Here we go. Now, when you're mixing compound, you always start with water. All right? And I hate mixing just a little bit of compound. Even if you don't need a whole lot, you're going to want to mix like a quarter of water in the pail. You want to get close to half a pail because this blade will make a heck of a mess of the room if it's not submerged in material. Okay? Now, we're going to take our 20. And 20 does not mean it's rock hard in 20 minutes. 20 simply means you've got about 20 minutes of working time once you mix it. Okay? And that is great to know. I got a really cheesy drill, but it's going to get the job done. All right. And generally, the thought is this. If you mix a little bit of the compound in there, it just kind of softens everything up. Okay? So then it doesn't make a huge mess. Yeah. Typical contractor. I made enough mud here to do a whole living room. All right. Not a worry. First trick of the day. My second and third coat are going to be Easy Sand 45. And I can use some of that right now to get the right consistency that I'm looking for. Right? But 45 isn't going to harden fast enough. So we're going to use table salt. Okay? The hardening in this is a chemical reaction. All right? And what does salt do in every chemical reaction? That's right. It changes the point of hot and cold where chemicals actually react. And so it actually speeds things up by helping to create heat. So by using salt water with your mix, Oh boy. This is a lot of fun. Okay. That is some great mud. Not the best drill to use that for. I like to use a slow mixer, generally speaking. But guys, when you're out of country, you don't buy every single tool in the book, right? Slow mixer probably wouldn't have been a bad idea. Now, I need that. Probably the only thing I'm going to need. And I'm going to need my hock. Let me go through the tools. So I've got a hock. This aluminum flat pan. Okay. Yeah, we don't need pepper, no paprika. The recipe is just calling for salt. And I have my hock buddy on here. So I can store my tools underneath. If you don't have one of these, get one of these. Because you can walk around with all your tools attached to your hock. And you can never have to put your tools down when you're working. So what we're doing right now is we're baking the mud. This is a chemical reaction, okay? And it's cold water. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it in here, put a lid on it, give it 5 minutes or so. And that way, as soon as it starts to get warm, then I know it's time to start working. Because if I take it out too quick, I'm in an air-conditioned home in Florida, nice and dry. Just because I have a fan isn't going to make that harden any faster. So I really need it hard to get to the next stage. So what I'm going to do is let this cook. All right. Trust me. Yeah, when it starts to cook, you'll feel the heat. Okay, it'll get to I don't know, on the Floridian scale, it'll get to around 70, 75. You'll feel it in the can. It'll be warmer than it is outside. Ah, boy, we got a minute or two. Let's answer a couple of questions. Hey, that's very cool. You followed me from Miami. Cheers. We were just down in Fort Lauderdale on the weekend, visiting with our son-in-law's parents. They were down for vacation, so we drove over. We're in Leesburg, so it was about a 4.5-hour drive, but it was worth it. Had a great time. Oh my goodness. All right. Which mud should beginners use? All right. If you're going to go with the quick set, the 45 is great. It's 45 minutes of working time. Okay. If you want to go with even more mercy, you can use all-purpose compound, and then you want to use the paper tape. But remember, with paper tape, you want to have mud underneath the paper. You want to embed the paper tape into it, and then you want to skim coat over top of that tape, just a thin coat. Wet tape is why you don't get bubbles. If you're getting bubbles when you're paper tape, it's just too dry. You have to add water to your all-purpose compound when you buy it. It's not ready to be used out of the bucket. Okay? And you want to make sure it's nice and moist. Professional drywall tools for putting the tape on puts the tape through a bucket of mud, and it gets both sides wet, so it's never dry. And then that's why they always get a great bond. Yeah. Well, when is it ever a perfect job? Let's see. Yeah. Still cooking. Eager to get on it, but I'm going to be patient because it's worth its weight in gold to let that start to heat up before I put it on. Otherwise, I'm going to be putting mud that doesn't get hot in a cool environment with a fan blowing. It'll stay cool and it won't get hard very fast. All right. Paul wants to know, how do you finish along the ceiling with a trailer ceiling finish? Paul, in this environment, I'm going to do wallpaper, and then I'm going to have a shoe mold and then cove molding down both sides, base part on the bottom. So it's going to be rather simple. In these environments, trailers, everything has got trim work. There's molding everywhere. So it makes life easy. Hey, Corey, hello from Ontario, the old stomping ground. Right on. Someone wants to know if I'm drinking beer. Nope, not drinking beer today. I'm at work. You gotta keep refreshed, but at the same time, beer just slows you down, man. That just takes the life out of you. All right. Let's see. One of those 1950s drywall tomahawk. Yeah. You know, the funny thing is, in the 50s, you've probably all seen the video of the guy who's got the little hammer. He's doing like an archway or something, right? They sped that up about 5 times the actual speed just to make us all look bad. But they used to do complete skim coat jobs on the wall. Now we just do the joint. So it's completely different technology. And we can't be that, how should we say, messy. Let me see. There we go. I'm feeling it now. It's a cooking. Now, it's really important. Keep your tools clean. Keep your mud clean. Okay? Like, clean mud is really the secret to everything. All right. Here we go. Now, we're going to just bite off a bite, okay? Let's start on our butt joints. Okay? We're just going to press it into play. And it's going to be a little lumpy, and it doesn't matter. We just mixed it with a really bad mixer. When I get closer to finish, I'm going to be using different compound that has a much better look, okay? So there's my first coat. That's cute. We'll do it from the bottom up this time, but I'm going to fill this bump right here first. Okay, really pressing it in that hole. The mesh tape allows me, oh, I'm losing all the mud off the ends. Great. Mesh tape allows me to push the mud through the mesh to fill up those gaps, okay? There we are. Nice healthy bead. Now this one we're actually just filling. See that? There's your bevel. It's your bevel joint right there. Now we're going to set it and press it out. We needed more mud there. All right, there we go. That's done. A little bit on the edges. And a little bit over here. Okay. Now, switch tools. Because whenever you're mudding, always take time to do all your screw holes. If you miss an opportunity, you're just creating more work for yourself. Okay? Screws that are going behind casing don't need to be filled. And you're going to identify if any of these are still sitting too proud. Okay? You can check in advance, or you can just go ahead and do this and catch them as you find them. Generally with a screw gun, it's pretty consistent. You don't have that problem. But you're going to find that it happens. You'll hit a knot in the wood, or the screw gun just won't drive very well because the screw has a bit of a manufacturer defect. You can see that one rise already. Okay. We're going off the side of the knife and just picking it all up. Again, the ones on the bottom, they're going to get covered by baseboard. They don't count. Around the window doesn't count. There we go. Screw holes are done. Now, this is why you want to have that 25 to 45 minutes of working time. Okay? Because we found a couple of problems. So now we're going to fix them. Okay? First problem was up here. That screw didn't go in. I actually missed altogether. Went a little bit too left. Now, here's a system. Use the same hole, but go on an angle the other direction. Every time you miss a stud, you're probably just right there. Okay? That one just needed a couple more clicks with the thread. And yes, tip of that one. See, this is what happens when you're short. You put the screw in an angle. It needs a little extra depth setting. This one, I think, just missed altogether. Nope. Okay. There we go. Happy, happy, happy. There we are. Okay. Now I'm going to go back fix these problems. Okay. And there we are. First coat's done, guys. Okay. 1 hour. Not terrible. All right. Beautiful. Now, we have to deal with these butt joints. All right. And I know it's a quick set mud, but you have an opportunity right here to do something that's a little unique. You can follow this program and get a step ahead of it. Now, I know everybody's been watching the TikToks, and they've got their 3-inch blade, and they roll the thin mud on the wall, and they take a 3-foot blade, and they just glide that sucker down the wall and make it look all perfect. That's all TV and BS, okay? That doesn't work. Here's the way you fill a butt joint. Because when you fill a butt joint, remember, the object is to create an optical illusion that the wall is flat, not just to apply a thin bit of mud over the paper. So in order to do that, you got to stretch it out. Here, let me show you this way. Okay? We're actually taking, instead of a flat line, we've added a piece of tape and then some mud. So what we want to do is we want to stretch that over a long distance to eliminate any shadows. Okay? So we're going to take mud here. And then mud on the other side. I know it's quick set mud, so it's not as sexy as in the TikToks. Okay? Now, what we're going to do, we're going to put pressure on this tip. Pressure on the clean side. Create a nice tight line. Okay? And if you can see over here, pressure on the clean side, which will be the right side, the outside. Right here. Nice and tight. And then you're going to come one more time. And then you're going to come over here, get rid of that excess. Okay? And then we're going to come right down the middle, intentional, to keep it from getting too thick. All right? We're going to leave those ridges. Those ridges will scratch off. Now this sets the depth of the total finish mud. And we're going to fill from here to here and from this ridge to here on the next coat. Okay? Again, making it nice and wide. Okay? There's no such thing as using too much mud in this scenario. You can always take it right back off again. And we're just going to put pressure on the tool on the clean side of the drywall. Get a nice cut edge, nice feather look. And the better you get at this, the less passes you have to do. And you just press one right up the middle. Okay. Here we go. That's done. Hurrah. Yeah. All right. Who's Mr. Waldo DeBaldo? My goodness. Or is that me? All right. Now, always clean your tools as you go, especially when using the quick set. Okay. There we go. We're going to take a few minutes now, answer some questions while this all hardens up. All right. This is my favorite part of the show. Okay. Let me just move a few things here. Got to find myself a little bit of space to coexist. All right. Oh, Anthony's got a question. Does your process change whether you're working in a bedroom, basement, bathroom, other than the water-resistant drywall? Well, to be honest, this is only one of my processes. This is for using quick set mud. When you're doing with a small space, and in a small space, the goal is to get done in one day. Okay? There's no reason why any project that's 4 sheets or less, you can't finish the entire thing in one day. Hell, even 6 or 8 sheets, right? But you have to use the right quick set mud. Now, regular process for me is all-purpose mud all the time. Larger projects, it's not about speed, it's about perfection. And so the all-purpose mud is really designed to give you the cleanest corners and the cleanest edges, and it's a lot easier to work with, period. And you don't have to waste mud. Like this batch that I mixed, whatever I don't use now is garbage. When you're working with all-purpose mud, when you're done at the end of the day, you take a sponge, you wipe down the inside of the pail, right? And you put a lid on it, put a couple ounces of water to sit on top, and it'll last for a week or two until you use it the next time in between projects. Or if you're on a major project, you just put a little bit of water on top, throw the lid. Next morning, you can take the mud from underneath that water, and it's kind of like hydrated, because once you mix it and it stays open for a few hours while you're working, the mud's slowly drying out. And so you're kind of hydrating it by putting a little water on top, and it's also capping it so it doesn't dry out. You don't get crunchy bits. That's really all we got to do. Should beginners use a smaller 6 or 8 inch hawk? No, just get the 9x9. What is this? Oh, sorry, that's a 12x12 or 11x11 or something. Don't bother with the small one, it's too small. This one also allows you, when you're working, you can throw a little powder on it, okay? Make the volcano, right? Throw a little water, and you can turn it right here all day long. Make just a little bit of custom mud if you need to do a little touch-up. The little small ones, they're just useless. They're invented for people who don't know, and then you'll spend that money, and then you'll come and spend the money again. Don't get small hawks. Bigger is better. Hey there, I've been watching for years. Thanks for the video. I was curious which tool belt you prefer or recommend. I'm sad and old. I like the Cooney's belt, just leather pouches. Simple, right? Somewhere to throw a drill and a hammer. Nice and easy. I don't like wearing 100 pounds of tools and fasteners. I don't see the advantage, right? Like, your body's going to give out if you're walking around in work boots carrying an extra 100 pounds all day. I just don't see the point. Yeah, you're going to look cool, and you never look for a tool. But, you know, at some point in your career, you're going to be 53 like I am. And I like to think I'm still in pretty decent shape because I didn't weigh myself down. Like, you know, feel free. Stay light and feel like a butterfly. Sting like a bee, right? Here we go. Am I going to cut out the other window? Yeah, Bill, I guess I should, eh? Why not? Yeah, good point. Maybe I'll cut that out right now. Good point. I'm going to use a different tool, though. I'm going to use the little drywall handsaw. You know, always have one of these, so if your rotozip dies or doesn't work, or they don't give you the right size bits from the factory, you can always cut, all right? And this is easy enough, right? We'll go in between the sheets, makes it simple. Find out where that stud is, right there. We can make a turn. I can cut against that all day long. It's just slow and painstaking. All right, there's the window. All right, brilliant. The secret to using the saw is you want to push and push up, pull down and away, so you're not lifting the drywall off the wall. Okay, you get used to that rhythm after a little while. There we go. There's the first half, and I'm going to say something like this. Well, didn't get deep enough. Okay. More than one way to do just about everything, right? Although I am interfering with my window prep, trying to keep the light out here. Okay. off my line. Okay. Straight across from here. All right. That's pretty close. Okay. I did notice one thing, though. I did pull one of my screws loose. Right here. So, I'll drive another one. There we go. All right. Whew. Sherry. Hey, Sherry. Will you list the products again? I blew a tire, so I'm at the shop right now watching. List the products again. Yeah, so far, we're using Easy Sand 20 or 45. That just relates to the working time once you mix it. Okay. I've got a 4-inch knife that I like to use on my nail holes. I got a 4x10 Nella trowel from German Steel. I got the Marshalltown Hawk Buddy with my my 12x12 aluminum hawk. All right, and then pails and water and my Olfen knife. This is the best knife in the world. It has 7 cut-off blades. Okay, you can use it with one hand. Extend it, close it up, tighten it. Really great when you're working. It takes a bold person to do live. You know what? I figured nobody's doing it. You know, the world is full of 30-second clips of people looking like they know what they're doing. But at the end of the day, most of the processes that you see on all your shorts videos are not professional processes. They're sure as hell not a DIY approach, right? Like nobody is going out and buying all of those fancy tools to do a job at home. So I'm over here doing what I think you guys can afford to do. A decent investment in some quality tools, right? Hand tools gets the job done if you need to. So, is drywall reusable after the seams are taped and mudded on a wall but not painted yet? Not sure what reusable means there, my friend. I would say that we're in decent shape here, right? But we really just got to wait until this hardens up. And it's getting there. All right, it's already starting to. It's going to be fun. This is good. Yeah, best tool. Best tool is for millionaires. I love it. Listen, if you're a really, if you're a craftsman and precision is your thing, Festool is a great tool. Not going to argue, all right? But I'm not buying a $1,000 drill when I only need a $200 drill. That's just the way it works. Can you use drywall from a different wall in a house flip? Yeah, no, don't do that. If you're ever adding drywall, just go get new stuff. You don't want to incorporate whatever problems are in the layers. There's a lot of people out there who are going from oil to latex paint who don't have a transition primer, so it starts peeling later. So you don't want to inherit somebody else's problems in your job. All right. Salt life, though. Okay, here's a good question from Dylan. When a can of paint says, use in a well-ventilated area, is that a suggestion or requirement? Some of the paints out there, Dylan, are still alcohol and oil-based, and they do have a lot of VOCs, volatile organic compounds, okay? Layman's terms, you're going to get stoned if you don't use it in ventilated areas or have a full-face respirator, okay? So if getting stoned is not something you're concerned about, then do it you, but you are killing brain cells when you smell that. Oh, wow. There we go. Well, Elena has a question. How would you patch drywall if you manage to cut within the studs and you have nowhere for the screws to go? Okay, this is a great question. So here's our frame. And let's say our hole was smaller, right? What you need is backing. And so what you want to do is go buy yourself some 1x3 strapping. All right, 1x3 You cut it a little bit longer, like about 3 inches longer than the hole, so that you can slide it up and in between, get a couple of screws to the drywall, the top and the bottom, and then you've got something to screw everything together, okay? Personally, if you do that, then you're gonna get a good bond, all right? And to make it even stronger, you can use expansion foam. They come in those little spray cans, and you can fill up all those gaps, because that grows and bubbles in behind the paper. It actually ends up being like an adhesive property and bonds the old and the new drywall together. And that's a great way to be done. And when you're done that, it'll dry, it'll come out all bubbly. You take your Ultra knife like this, and you just slice it all up, cut off all that extra foam, and then you're ready to tape right away. Ah, yeah. Backing. Yeah, 2x4 works if you have space for it, but 1x3s are really efficient, because in a lot of cases, you're dealing with exterior wall. So having 1x3s on a job site is really crucial, because you don't want to compress your insulation too much. All right. Tom wants to know, can you put linoleum over a new linoleum? Whoa. Without having to scrape off that epoxy under the original? Yes, you can install linoleum over linoleum. As a matter of fact, a lot of linoleum nowadays comes in loose lay, which means it doesn't even require the adhesive, okay? So if you're doing a bathroom or a laundry room or something, and you just want to refresh the look, you don't have to pull off the old, especially if you're on concrete, because the adhesive is a pain. So you can just install the brand new linoleum right over top. They've got a new formulation, and it drops and lays flat. And it is quick and simple. Just throw some new trim boards on, and you're off to the races. It was a word, salt, that grabbed my attention. Oh, yes, the salt. Listen, anytime you got a chemical reaction, you want to speed it up, you add salt. It's good old-fashioned knowledge, right? That's grade 5 science. Ah. Oh, hey, just here to kill time. The guy used all my tips to redo his father's bathroom and living room. Came out amazing. Well, cheers. I'm glad I was being helpful. That's the whole point here, right? We really are just trying to help you guys go from being DIYers to getting professional looking results, because that's where the equity in your home comes in, right? And that's really awesome. And Gautier showing some love here. 10 English pounds, my goodness. Thanks for the tip. I used it and it worked perfect. My bubble was there because there was a piece of dirt underneath. There you go, right? Keep your mud clean. Don't get dirt in your mud. I love it. All right, let's see how we're doing here. Almost there. We need another 5 minutes. And that's okay. Let's answer some more questions here, guys. No. It is 1.5 hours into this episode. Just see, any ideas or advice on how to hide the electrical wire on an open island where the legs are exposed? Yeah, that's interesting. You know, Jesse, what you can do, usually you're going to have like about, 3.5 or 4 inch gap between the bottom shelf and the floor. If you take, here, let me just use this as an example. Here's a great visual aid. If you take a couple pieces of 1x3, okay, and you make 2 outside corners like this, you can create a little box. You can come at it from 2 sides underneath the counter, have it finished white melamine, miter the inside corners, you know, and then you can just press it together into a couple of dabs of no nails. All right, you can create a small little box underneath so you can't see or access the wire by accident, okay? And it'll hide really well if it's the same color as your cabinet finish. All right? There we go. Oh. Kiana from Detroit, sharing your wisdom. Well, some things you learn by blood, sweat, and tears. And if I can share that with you so you don't have to go through the blood, sweat, and the tears, then all the power to you. Sandy Rose is here. Hey, good to see you, Sandy. Cheers, girl. Steve's got a question. I have a plaster wall that is ugly. Aren't all plaster walls ugly? Been repaired and not well. Any chance of putting drywall over, and what size drywall thickness? Here's your thing. If you have a plaster wall, it's really super old, right? 60 years plus. Depending on the condition of the plaster, and is it an interior or an exterior wall? If the plaster is just cracking, but it hasn't bubbled, then it's still attached to the lath, okay? Lath is horizontal wood, and they push the plaster in, and it kind of bubbles around and grabs on. And it all dries together, all right? But a lot of the walls expand and contract different rates, and they all start breaking off. And then the plaster starts to separate. Once that starts to happen, the broken bits fall in behind, and you can never compress the wall flat again. So you're screwed. What you have to do is take the plaster off if you have a warp, okay, and then put new drywall on. You can leave the lath. If the plaster is still flat, take it at a 4-foot level. Check your wall. If it's still flat, then you can compress drywall right over top of it. Just remember, you've got a about 3/8 thickness of lath, plus your plaster, plus your drywall, plus another inch to 1.25 inches for your screw. And that'll give you the length of screw you need to have a successful assembly. All right, cheers. Okay. Woo. Jesse from Alabama, oh, yeah, you DIY'd your whole house from the ground up. That's awesome, dude. Great to hear. Great to hear. Sorry, Maddie, you had a question there for me. Lily, do you still have to put screws above and below the window you just cut out? Oh, yeah, probably. Bloody heck. All right, thanks for catching that for me. Here we go. Looking for, yeah, there's a stud. You can see the nails right here for where the stud is, right? So I'll put one here. That one won't need any compound. This one is going to need some compound. Right. Now, chances are the stuff in this bucket are rock hard. Yep. Okay. Let's show you this. This has been cooking. All right. This has been cooking. It's rock hard. Okay. I'm having big broken chunks. That is the power of 45 compound with salt. That also means that everything over here is going to be dry in just a couple seconds. Now, the only thing left for me to do is get prepped up for my next mix. All right, let me get this pail over here. I'm going to try to avoid making quite so much compound this time. There we go. That'll make more sense. Now, there is one step we have to do before we make the compound for the next batch, okay? And that is this. Now we've got these ridges, okay? Maybe we can see them here. Can we see this better here, Matt, maybe? Okay? Now, this is firm. Not completely dry, but it's firm. It's a lot of material, too. So it'll continue to dry even when we put new mud on top. What we want to do is take our 4-inch knife and gently rub those ridges off. Okay? Okay, that's it. And now we're prepped and ready to go for the next coat. Okay, so same thing over here. Rub the ridges off. Okay, there we go. Now we're ready for the next coat. That's awesome, awesome. All right. So for the next coat, we're going to go just straight 45. Okay. Again, you know, time is the issue here on a project like today. So we'll go straight 45. And we're going to make a lot less, I think. Hopefully. And of course, we need our salt. Same thing. Still want that to go hard as quick as possible. All right, gonna be nice and generous. There we go. I got my drill. And this is just a regular Craftsman drill. I do not have a proper mixing blade. So this is making a mess. I apologize in advance. Yeah, I'm just still making way too much mud here today. Typical. Typical, Jeff. Yeah. You know, I can believe I was actually at the store the other day thinking, oh, I only need one bag. And in theory, yeah, one bag would be enough for this project. But the way that I mix my water to powder ratio, yeah, I'm just throwing things in the garbage here. I should get a fine. I don't know. This is... Okay, now this particular mix, we want to make a little thinner.
The last one we were going for the fastest drying time possible. So we wanted to make it a little thicker and a little more raw. Didn't have to be sexy smooth because we're covering over it all, right? This time we're using 45 and wanting it to be somewhat smooth. And I think we've achieved that goal. There we go. All right. So let's have a look. Yeah, it's actually too runny. I won't be able to get that on the hock without making a mess. We're going to throw in a little bit more compound, just a dusting. We're going to mix it again. If it's too runny to stay on the hock, it's too runny to work with. Okay. It also means it's going to shrink a lot when you put it on the wall. So here we go. This drill doesn't have like a sensitive trigger. It's either all the way on or almost not even working. Great if you're driving tack-ons into concrete, but not a good mixing drill. Okay. There we go. Yeah, if your insulation is wet, Sherry, if it's fiberglass paint, it's compressed. It'll never bounce back. Okay, so you've got to remove it in order to dry the studs out because it's trapping moisture in the studs, and the studs will go moldy. If you have mineral wool and it's wet but it's not oversaturated, then this trick is to get some air in there, pull the mineral wool out, stand it up on end, and the mineral wool will actually dry out and you can reinstate it. But you do have to get the wet stuff out of the cavity to let the cavity dry. Because the mold is your issue there. That's a bigger concern than whether or not your insulation is wet. There we go. Okay. Now, same thing. We're going to let it cook for just a couple minutes, okay? Because it's nice and creamy and smooth, but I don't want to be doing anything with that. All right. Have cracks all over them. Oh, God. Okay. What's the best way to repair cracks all over the walls? You know, if you got cracks all over the walls, there's only really two reasons why. One, you got foundation issue, and your walls are constantly in flux. You've got old plaster walls, and you've got all kinds of cracks. Well, actually, third, your house was built in the 50s or 60s before drywall came in 4x8 and 10 and 12 sheets, and they came in 16-inch by 4-foot panels, and they stacked them like Lego blocks up on the wall. They didn't use paper tape, and they skim coated the whole wall. And we didn't have air conditioning widely used back those days, so then the humidity would expand, and then there'd be contraction, and then you get these hairline cracks. It looks like a block wall. If that's what you got, what you have is just old plaster. And there is actually a compound. You're going to have to Google for this. It comes in a roll, like a wire mesh, because you can skim coat your wall, and you can roll out a 4-foot mesh on your wall. It's just like this, without the adhesive. It's fiberglass mesh on a huge roll. And you can actually skim coat your wall, add the mesh, and then skim coat the wall again, okay? And get a perfect level 5 finish, and it'll never crack again. So that also works on really old plaster homes if it's still bonded. You can actually create an environment where you're adding a structural layer to your compound surface. Really good, effective way to solve a problem. Yeah, hey, happy Thanksgiving to all our American friends out there. It's coming up in just a couple of days. Hopefully you're all not going to get, too food comed. Oh my goodness. All right, let's check our mud. We are in a race against time. Okay, silky smooth. Silky smooth, but just not cooking yet. Okay, what would cause some of the screw heads to show through the drywall? A couple of reasons. Deflection, okay? So people are hitting between the studs, then the drywall is popping, and then it starts to crack. Number two, The drywall could have been stud on studs that weren't really dry yet, right? Remember, a lot of the new homes that are built, they build in the weather, and if it's rainy season, they build it. Stud gets wet, blah blah blah. They dry out, but not kiln dried. Okay, not below 60%. So then they screw on the drywall, and then that 2x4 shrinks. Well, the drywall is attached to the thread head on the screw, and so then there's a separation as the wood dries. And then, as soon as anybody even hits it with a paint roller, the screw heads pop through all that drywall compound, and you get nail pops everywhere, or screw pops is what they are. Those are the most common. Expansion, contraction, or just the wood is just wet. Now, down in Australia, it's part of the building code. They actually use an adhesive on the drywall to the stud, so that if the stud shrinks, it's glued to the drywall as well. So they don't have that problem. And it's a thought. You could do it. It's not that you can't do it here. It's just that generally we don't. All right? Okay. We've got a few more minutes while my mud's cooking. Cass Jenkins. Is there any truth to that? If you skim the whole wall, it helps with soundproofing? A little bit. If you use that fiberglass mesh I was talking about, first of all, fiberglass comes in that cross pattern, okay? And so sound waves hit something that's going multiple directions. It has an effect, but you're also creating more mass. So the thicker your wall, the more mass, the more soundproof. Soundproofing isn't really technology. It's about stuffing material between you and the sound source. So the thicker the wall, the quieter it is. It's not going to be dramatic. You might get 1 or 2 points of soundproofing rating, but yeah, it helps a little bit. All right. Oh my goodness. My mic keeps popping, does it? Yeah, unfortunately. I'm not sure why that would be. Sorry about that, guys. Doesn't seem to be a whole lot about it I can do about that today. We'll have to check that out down the road. All right, let me just double check. No, I got full batteries. My receiver pack is right here. Shouldn't be an issue. Sorry, guys, about the mic. If you're having issues hearing it, we will take a look at this later and then see if we got to update our technology. I have a $1,000 wireless mic. Should not have a problem. All right. Do you need a sand in between coats? No. No, you see that? What I did with that 4-inch knife? That's all you got to do. See, compound bonds to compound. The sanding in between coats is if you don't have a process and you're not applying pressure to keep your lead edges smooth and thin, you put too much mud on. Remember, I put lots of mud on, but then I took most of it off. Now, that means I don't have to sand. Okay? So the Home Depots of the world are going to teach you to sand in between coats because they know a lot of people who are just learning how to do this for the first time are using too much mud. Okay? They also want to train you to put too much mud on and sand it off. That's money and time that you're spending on a program. You need more mud now, right? I mean, think about how many millions of boxes of mud they sell to homeowners who put too much on the wall and then have to sand it all back. And they're expecting to sand it off, and so that doesn't bother them. It's a lot of waste of time and energy. You learn how to apply the mud, you don't have to sand it at all. Not until right before you primer. Okay, that's it. Mo's doing a basement by himself, 65 sheets. That's nice. That's a nice, tidy little basement. Probably what, around 1,200 square feet or something? Good for you, Mo. That's a great project. Yeah, it might be internet. Well, listen, my computer's on an Ethernet, so I am got the best computer I can get down here in Leesburg, Florida. When I get back north to Ottawa, we're going to have a project house up there, and we've got fiber optic. And so that's definitely going to be a requirement moving forward when we have a project house to be on fiber optics. Because like at the end of the day, I'm sharing airtime with everybody else around here through the cable network. So it can be an issue. All right. Oh my goodness. All right, let's check to see if this mud is baked, cooked, heated up. Ooh, yeah, I can feel it. I can feel the love. There you go. Now, you're going to notice that this stuff here is a lot creamier in section, a lot smoother. Okay. Now, y'all seen that Dairy Queen commercial, right? Oh, yep, it doesn't come off. It's just thick enough that it holds on the hock and smooth enough that it's going to be nice and creamy. So let's get to work. Start in the middle. Remember, this is a butt joint. So this is as thick as I want to get. This is the high point, and this is how far I want to take it to. Okay, so we'll start with where I want to go. Way over here. Okay, and again, plenty of material. This is not about being cheap. Okay, we don't stretch it out. We don't get a good result. Now, okay, so that's done. Now, we take some more. We're going to meet up. Okay, now, remember the last time we did feathered out from the outside? This time we go the opposite direction. Gonna get a little bit more material. So the last time we feathered out the outside and we left the ridge in the middle. Okay. Throw a little material up here first. There we go. This time we're going to start pressure in the middle and establish the depth of field that we want to come to. Okay. Take off that extra material. And then we're going to work our way out, keeping our pressure somewhat neutral in the middle. Okay. Now, there we are. Now we're established. I got a piece of dirt in there. That's really lovely. Same thing going the other way. There we are now. Now that is actually pretty darn smooth. Okay, and it's only the second coat. All right. We'll do the same thing over here now that we got all the spud on my hawk. We'll start going wide. We'll add a bunch in the middle. And we'll clean from the middle first. There we go. And we'll hit a little bit. Okay, top and bottom, beside the windows. Perfect. Now, because of the width of this bead, I've almost completely filled the rest of that coat there, right? Just got to add a little bit here. And a little bit at the other side. The truth of it is that almost all of this is already done. Okay. You really want to try to avoid doing the horizontals and the verticals at the same time. But if you're using good pressure and you're not overdoing it on the mud, you'll come up with a pretty good result. Okay? Now all I got to do is hit all those nail holes again. Okay. Oh, I missed one down here earlier. Okay. Okay. And that's all she wrote. Coat number 2. Clean the tools. All right. You hate butt joints. They're not that bad. The only time butt joints are really difficult is if your framing has got bows in it. Like, I mean, nowadays, because of the advent of YouTube, you'll see more guys out there talking about how they take their level around the room and they're planing their studs if they've got a bit of a warp to them. Yeah, okay. That doesn't happen in 99% of homes, okay? If you're seeing somebody pulling out a planer on your wall studs, you're not in a new track built house, that's for darn sure. You're in a custom home environment. Us average folks don't get that kind of treatment. We don't get that kind of love. Now, you can do that on your own jobs, right? Feel free. You can always feel free to go above and beyond and use like custom building techniques and make your life easy. But we're going to get studs out and then in and then out and then in all the way down the wall. That's just the way it is because they're just whipping that stuff together. So it's the drywaller's job to come in here, identify the surface, have a look and go, yeah, I got a problem, right? Maybe this part of the wall is just too deep. Maybe there's two studs that are bowed. So I've been in situations where I'll fill a section of the wall. I'll put a level on it. I'll draw it out with a circle. I'll fill it all first, even if there's no joint, just so I can get a smooth finish. That's average folks, Andy. That's right. Anybody who isn't making more than $250,000 a year are average folk. The rest of them hire all those guys who do all that fancy stuff you see on TV. But not the average folk. No. It's those 1%ers. Yeah, you can't see my studio, but it is really quite something. Actually, you guys interested to see what I got set up over here? Let me know. I can take that camera over there and I can do a little pan shot. Give you an idea of what I'm working in. My goodness. We're coming up on 2 hours. I got tons of time. This is awesome. You know, I did a video at the church not too long ago. And we did a installation, corner bead, drywall, taping, 2 coats of paint all in the same day. And it has 500,000 views. Man, I'm just like, I was surprised because I guess people don't think you can actually do it. They thought maybe I was like pulling some sort of scam. So that's one of the reasons I'm doing this, because I want to make sure that everybody can see. It's totally possible. As a weekend warrior, if you got a small project, tackle it like this, you're going to be good. All right, well, let's just do this. Hopefully my HDMI won't come out this time. All right, guys, we're going to give this a shot. All right, Matt, let's go to the other camera if it's working. So there's my light, my garbage. All right, there's my table. Got my 2 laptops. Oh, I'm catching my foot. There we go. And then I got my TV. I made a custom shelf to hang my TV on there. That's my monitor. I can read my questions. I got my other camera sitting in that corner next to that ring light. All my tools and garbage and paint trays and building materials. And yeah, it's a hell of a... Does that even look right? Hopefully that didn't screw that up. Yeah, so I've got 2 laptops, 2 A10 Mini Pros, 2 email addresses. Both of them are streaming a different camera to the StreamYard. And then Matt can run audio from one into both feeds by switching the camera. Here, Matt, switch that camera for me real quick. And you see how my main screen zips into the corner? That keeps the audio running through the whole feed the whole time, right? And this is how we're doing it. Anyway, this is our setup for now. This is my portable studio. I can travel the world. It comes in 3 little suitcases, and I can go anywhere. Hey, Raina, nice to see you again. Sorry, I've been a little busy building. I haven't caught all the comments. I didn't know you're here. Cheers, girl. Yeah, it's been busy, but we're trying to expand our understanding, my understanding of technology. I'm down here by myself, right? So I got to know how to run all this stuff. It's not easy, but I'm learning lots. We've had some good people working with us over the years. You know, Max has worked with us. We've had a guy named Joe. He's in charge of the Shed series. So it's not Max filming that. It's a new guy, Joe. Joe is brilliant. He's a sound engineer as well. So he's been real helpful. Hey, Jeff Dunn here from Ottawa, the Gooseneck guy. Love your shows. Cheers, buddy. Hey, well, thanks for jumping in. That's awesome. Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, the gooseneck, Don invented it. It's like a paintbrush, but the neck here is made of some sort of a 2-part technology where you can just bend it in half, right? So you can attach it to a paint pole. You can get in between the spindles and do really weird, funky things, you know? It's really kind of phenomenal. I have one back in Ottawa. Not here today, but it is one of those, if you don't know you need it until you got it, tools, right? Everybody should just go out and buy one. And I'm not getting paid to say that. All right. Yeah. Yeah, okay, thanks, Carrie. Again, right over here, there's no hair to catch that information. So whatever you're saying is falling on deaf ears. Yeah, I get it. I don't know enough about these things. I'm going to have to do some more research and get a better understanding. The good news is this is the last Work With Me Live from Florida. We're going to do more of these come in the springtime. We've got some A to Z videos coming up in the meantime, guys. If you're looking for a nice hangout, we will continue to do live shows every week, but in this format, it's the last one of these I got. My work visa is coming to an end, so I can't be doing any work on the tools anymore, and my house is finished. I'm basically got one wall left, right here. I'm going to paint this room, and I'm done. That's awesome. Max wants to know how to straighten the studs if they're not flush, and how much is the acceptable deflection before we should start installing the drywall and be happy with the end result. You know, acceptable deflection is key. Remember when I talked about, Max, the when we're doing a butt joint, we're actually adding layers, and then we're stretching it so that the eye can't see one shadow from the next. Because when you look at a wall, you can only see about 4 feet. So as long as you can stretch it out, you're not creating shadows. It's a trick of the eye. It looks flat. You put a level on any wall, you'll see they're not flat. Again, when your stud has got a bow on it, your job as a drywaller is to make the wall look flat. If it's affecting that look, you have to add mud and treat it like a butt joint. That's all you have to do, okay? And the other thing you can do is you can take your stud and you can actually cut it 3/4 of the way through, okay? And then that saw line, you can push the stud and throw a screw in it. So you can take a bow, cut it, and push it straight, and then screw it through. And then you can scab another piece of wood on the side to reinstate some strength to nails top and bottom. That's an easy, quick fix as well. Before, if you have the option before they put the drywall on. All right. Question here: tips on removing walls. Removing a wall corner next to the kitchen that used to be a laundry room is really going to open up the space. Thanks so much for the advice and all your videos. Tips for removing walls: don't remove walls that are carrying load. If you're not sure if your wall is load bearing, then you really should get a professional, okay? Contact a structural engineer. Now, load bearing in the majority of cases, and I say that because there are rules where they broke the rules back in the 20s and 30s. They had so many unique architectural features, almost everything is a load bearing wall. But generally speaking, we build boxes, and our our floor joists can be so long before they have to be supported from underneath. And usually we use steel in the basement, and sometimes we use an interior wall on the first floor. That wall becomes load bearing, okay? And so if your house is more than 16 feet wide, you have most likely a load bearing wall in there where the joists are lining up. Or it's a combination of steel and all kinds of other things, but it's too much to talk about in this environment. I am doing this though. The next house I buy, I'm intentionally buying something where I can tear the entire walls out that are load bearing, and we're going to be doing all those videos to show you how to do it with your structure. Okay, for everybody who doesn't want to call a structural engineer and wants to be a Rambo, you can do what I do, and maybe your situation will be the same, but at least you have the process in mind. All right, you'll have seen it, you'll understand it, and we'll be able to walk through some of those do's and don'ts. Okay, and we'll get a structural engineer on our site and have a chat about the different situations that we deal with. They said it'd be all right to remove it. If they said it's all right to remove it, my man, it's an interior wall. All it is a wall that's designed to break off the space. So you have to remove the electrical and then just cut out all the studs right through the middle, peel them off the nails top and bottom, take those top and bottom plates out, and start all over from scratch. Reroute all your electrical, because a lot of times plug lights are on a sequence. Okay, so you're gonna need to deal with that as well. But if they say it's okay, it's okay. And Gautier, another big chunk of love from England. My goodness, that's just wow. We just want to give you a shout out because I've been watching you for 4 years, and did an entire villa renovation with your help. Really love that you teach how you can fix mistakes. One question, what the hell happened with your church? I still got it. It's currently for sale. We actually have a shed series that's coming out. Last week we had the foundation. This week is the walls, coming up on Saturday. That was actually at the church property. You'll see the church in the background once in a while on camera. But, you know, economy is what it is. It doesn't look like it's going to sell right now. So most likely what we're going to do in the spring is we're going to open up another building permit. We need to add a bedroom. Apparently, they're not accepting the second floor of the church as a bedroom. It's just too big. So we're going to have to add a bedroom, and then we can sell it as a home that you can actually live in. We'll get occupancy permit. So that's the goal. Once we get occupancy, we'll take a look at the market, and maybe we'll continue to do some work on it and turn it into a duplex, and then just rent the darn thing. I don't know. Oh, but that's awesome. Cheers, Gautier. I'm glad that we were of some help to you to get that project done. That's pretty awesome. And I'll tell you, we get news like this all the time. People that are taking on major projects, and you know, most of them become members of the channel. You know that little join button that you see on the screen on your computer? That's what membership is. Marin is a member. I can see that right here. We just built a half wall against concrete in the basement and used therma, fiber, fire and sound guard plus insulation between the studs. You can touch in the concrete. Then place sheetrock on top. Fair enough. That'll work. Good job. My goodness. Let's check out and see how we're doing. See if we're ready for third coat yet. Not yet. It's close. We need another 5 minutes. But look at that, eh? 2 coats. What are we at here? We're just a little over 2 hour mark. We did the install. We've done all the 2 coats. We're ready for the third coat here in just a few minutes. That's amazing. All right. Is there mold risk here? It all depends. If when you built your half wall on your concrete, did you put a vapor barrier in there? Did you put in a sill or a piece of plastic? Or did you at least use pressure treated lumber in direct contact with the concrete? If yes, yes, or yes is the answer, then you're fine. If you just put regular lumber direct on the concrete, then there is a risk of mold, unless your house is so new that there's a vapor barrier underneath the concrete. Marin, what's the age of your home? And then we'll be able to tell you once and for all. But generally, guys, when you're putting wood direct on concrete, use pressure-treated lumber, okay? Because it doesn't have the decay factor issue the regular lumber does. Even better, add a vapor barrier. Use a construction-grade garbage bag, right? You don't have to go and spend a fortune. Just take like the Husky garbage bags that they sell at Home Depot. Shred it up. It's 2 or 3 mil. So yeah, at that age of a home, you really want to have a vapor barrier, Marin. Okay, that's important because there's no vapor barrier underneath the concrete, so it's going to be constantly wicking moisture. So pressure-treated lumber will last longer, but a vapor barrier will make sure that it lasts a lifetime. Okay. Yeah. Now, no vapor barrier, Boston. Yeah, it doesn't matter where you live. It's about moisture transfer from the ground. And so every summer, there's more moisture higher up in the ground, and it's going to start coming into your wall. So you're welcome. Hopefully, you don't have to redo any work. All right. Cheers. All right. Well, guys, if you're just joining us, we're working live today. We started 2 hours ago. Installed the drywall. Did the fiberglass mesh tape. Done 2 coats of quick set mud. We're about to do the third coat. The goal here today is to finish this project before the day is over, right? Get it sanded and primed and a first coat of paint on so that I can get my wallpaper installed. I'm not wallpapering on camera today. That'll be another day. But just want to get this project finished. The Grinch from Singapore. Wish you had more honest contractors like you here. Yeah, want me to start an association or standard gatekeeper. You know what? That's really tough. I've been part of other different organizations over the years, and at the end of the day, they're just checking all the traditional boxes. There's really no integrity test, and at the end of the day, integrity is the difference between a good and a bad contractor. So that's why I'm promoting doing it yourself, because integrity used to be part of culture in society, and now, have you been around much? Like, where did it go, right? Anyway, new member, GM saying, hey guys, by the way, we do have a membership membership coming up. We're doing special events now. On Saturday, December the 16th, for 2 hours before the video comes up, we're going to do a members only video, live stream. So the only people who are even going to be invited are members, okay? So we're going to be able to take some time, we're going to have the whiteboard there and maybe some props. We're going to be able to dig in a little bit and deal with some of that stuff. So if you're going to be going to that, we're going to do a community post. Tell me in advance the kind of questions you're going to have so then I can be better prepared for you. We're going to open up the forum and look at some past questions as well and talk a little bit more in depth about what's going on in some of those environments. It's going to be like a little bit of a teaching session. So it's going to be a great hangout. We're going to learn a bunch of stuff, deal with a lot of building science. So if you got questions and you've got a project and you're not sure how to move forward, consider becoming a member. Bring all your questions to that show. Okay, guys? Appreciate it. Okay. Am I going to tape mud the top corner? No. I'm going to actually use trim work. So that's one of the goals here. In a trailer, everywhere you go, there's trim on the tops, on the corners, inside, outside, it's all trim. So it's not going to look out of place. So we're going to follow the wallpaper, and then I'm going to trim it out afterwards. So it makes this project really quite simple. All right? If I did, I could, right? One of the ways you can do it is you can actually do what's called a flat tape. Now, flat taping is where we just take the tape and we put it flat on the wall and push it up to the ceiling. Okay? And then I would fill that gap with mud. All right? And that's called flat taping. And we could do that. And we get a great look. And then we could just use a little bit of caulking to close up that gap and then paint it all in. But in this case, we're just using trim. Never forget why you got a black eye, because I played basketball with my kid. Yeah, I've used lots of plastic trim work. Trimtex usually is the one I use. All right. Anyway, let's get on with this. It's time for the next batch of mud. I think I'm gonna just knock this out, actually. Yeah, that one's not quite hard enough yet. This one should be ready. I don't know if everybody can see what I'm doing here. You know what? I'm going to bring this camera down so you can see what I'm doing. Here we go. Okay, and my hammer. All right, guys. So I got a bunch of mud stuck in this pail. Good thing about mud is it doesn't stick to plastic. All right? So I can actually reuse the pail. Just a little love tap will do the job here, by the way. Oh, I just punched a hole. Yeah, well, that is my day today, isn't it? Everything I want to do is just going to poop. No big surprise. These pails from the HD are not the strongest pails in the world, that's for sure. Okay. Ha! Give me 2 seconds. I got to pour one of these pails out because I got way too much water here and not enough room to mix. Alrighty. Alrighty. Okay. That worked like a charm. You can just imagine there's not a lot of room here for surprises with everything that's going on. So, what I got here is a bucket of all-purpose compound. It's pretty brand new. And it's still nice and wet around the edges, so we're going to be fine. We're going to throw a little bit of water in here. About 4 or 5 ounces, okay, to be honest with you. Just to get started. And we're going to take that mixing blade and we're going to try turning this into thin, creamy mud. Because right now, it's a little on the thick side. been sitting here for a couple of months. I went home in Ottawa to film that Dead series. So I was there for about 2.5 months. Oh, yeah. And then we got home, back to Florida. I'm making this drill work way too hard. Yeah, there's silky smooth. Okay, that'll work. Anyway, we got back to Florida just for a couple of days to set up our fifth wheel again, and off we were to the races, trade shows, and went out to see Stud Pack out in Houston, and then went and did another project that I can't talk about yet. It's exciting. If you're not sure, search that, and you'll know where I was. Yep. Fantastic trip. Alrighty. Let's see if this is hard yet. Now, this is really crucial because this mud can feel hard and still be very easily to gouge, right? So you want to go really flat to the wall. The ridges off this time. Okay. Any of these little imperfections. This is officially called sanding between coats. This is all you need to do. Okay. You're getting rid of a little bit of excess. Anything else that happens here from here on in is going to be just a thin coat to fill in depressions and to apply just an easy sand finish. Okay? And that's it. That's all we're doing. Mm-hmm. Nice. Okay. Good. And beautiful. Okay. There we go. Now, really important. This mud has to stay clean. Okay. So we want to make sure that our tools don't have any of the old mud on them. Okay. And cheers, Caleb. Good to see you in the chat, buddy. This older mud has got chemical compound for quick dry on it. Okay. And we want to eliminate that from the mix as much as possible. And cheers, Lars. Got a new member in the house. Cheers, guys. Appreciate you joining. All right. Here we go. Whoa. All right. Now, because this is all-purpose compound, this stuff is really silky smooth. Okay? It makes the 45 mud look like an old man's face, to be honest with you. This is amazing. We're sexy begins right here. All right? All-purpose compound with water, and we're good to go. Now, there is no rhyme or reason here about where to start. So I'm just going to go from one side to the other with pressure on where I came from, because all we're doing is filling the last little voids and leaving a really thin skin coat on the wall. Okay? And right there, little bugger. Got dirt in the mud already. Maybe it's not as clean as I thought it was going to be after sitting here for a couple months. This might be a problem. We might have a little more fight in this than we thought. Okay. This might just be Jeff being cheap again. Thinking, oh, I've got perfectly good mud in the closet. Hopefully, we can get this to finish nice. Okay. So let's start in the middle for the heck of it, and we'll just go nice and tight. I'm using some pretty good pressure here. Yeah. And I got junk in the top there. There we go. I'm going to bring my line a lot further south here to do the horizontal same time as the butt. There we go. Okay, and now I'm going to put pressure on the inside and kind of snowplow. See the angle I'm holding that trowel? We don't want to leave any excess here now. The goal is perfectly smooth. Remember, this does not have the quick setting compound. This one will take the longest to dry of all of the coats, even though there's barely anything on the wall. All right, same thing here to the middle, snow plowing out. And I didn't get a fill there. And it's all about just working it until you're happy. There we go. All right, I think that's going to work. I'm having a little bit of an issue up there. And then, all right, I'll do the other butt joint over here. And I'm only using about a 1.5 inch overlap from the existing edge. Should be plenty. There we go. Now in this situation, I don't have enough mud to finish. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clean the middle and then use the leftovers to finish the joint. Okay. All righty, now a little bit of love there. What we're doing is making sure we're covering anything that was quick dry with the new compound. Okay, because it's so much easier to sand. All right. I don't know if you saw that, but the corner of my wall broke away. So I got junk in my mud, so I immediately removed it from the trowel. Okay. Now, gotta hit the nails again, and then we're back to some more questions, guys. So if you got any questions, ask me now. There is a bit of a delay between when you ask and when I've asked. So I'll be done this by the time the questions show up on the screen. Ah. All righty, there we go. Okay, Matt, throw them up, buddy. Now, before we get to the questions, I got a little bit of mud left. I've been working on a wall. I'm going to consider this garbage, okay? Because whatever's in here, I want to be really, really extra careful and protective about. Okay? Oh. Now I'm going to just sand and paint after this, so let's just deal with this real quick. We got that angle shot via camera too. Okay, Matt, let's do this. So I'm taking my 4-inch knife. I'm taking the extra mud off the side. Okay. And take a little bit of water. It's about 4 ounces. Top of that pail is now covered in water. And what's going to happen is, because this one's been sitting a while, when I was mixing, I realized the bottom was just way too thick. Just didn't have enough moisture. Adding the moisture, we're going to seal it in. That's going to work its way through all that mud and make sure it's nice and silky smooth the next time I use it. All right. Go. That's that. That's that. Is this over here? Whew. Okay. Let's get back to some questions. Cat's meow. How long does the non-quick set stuff take to set up? Here's the best part. That is a really, really, really thin coat. It's so thin, it's like paper thin. Now, I do have a fan in the other room. You may not hear it because we have sound cancellation technology thing built in. But there is air blowing through here, and it's circulating this air. I have air conditioning running, so the air outside the rest of the house is pretty dry. So it shouldn't take long. I would imagine that this would be ready to sand in the next 20 to 30 minutes tops. Okay, Gelato. No, sorry, David Johnson. Is it okay if I sand through the mud and expose the gypsum? Can I still prime over that, or do I need the paper? If you sand right through to the gypsum and you've gone through the white paper and the brown paper, let me show you what I mean. Okay, here's white paper. All right, that's the brown paper underneath. You've got 2 layers of paper before you expose the gypsum. Okay, and if you've sanded to that point, you got nothing there. All right, you can't paint that. You've got to cover that with paper, either paper tape or fiberglass tape, and then patch that hole all over again. Because as soon as you put moisture on that, it's just going to dissolve on you. Okay, there's no protection, and that's just not good. You're running into trouble. If you have brown paper, you can spray the brown paper with the Zinsser oil-based paint. Okay, that oil-based paint is like a moisture barrier lock, and it'll prime the brown paper so that you can then prime. But you've got to realize you need a couple of hours of drying time on those walls once you've used an oil spray, because the paint just doesn't dry fast enough. So it slows down your whole process if you're relying on it. Zach wants to know, which side do you put pressure on when feathering out the edge of the mud? The feathered edge or the inside edge? Okay, here's the deal. Let's go through that again. When I'm starting my joint, okay, the first time I'm on the outside, and then I'm equal down the middle to create my depth of field. The next coat, I'm feathering with pressure on the inside, okay? And then I finish with pressure on the outside to get a nice feathered edge wide. On this coat, I'm starting in the middle, and I'm going left with pressure on the inside. I'm trying to leave as little mud on here as possible, okay? Because the success is not about having a lot of compound, it's about having very little. Once I've got my depth of field on the first coat, I'm trying not to leave hardly anything there after that. So I'm always putting pressure on the inside and pushing it out, stretching, stretching, stretching. And that's the process. That's the basic process. Now you can have a wall with other complexities, but that's the basic process. So you put pressure on the outside on the first coat, and then you put pressure on the middle to get your depth of field. And then after that, work from the middle towards the outside, pushing away, stretching, stretching, and not allowing the middle to build up. Okay? Cheers. Okay, first of all, fiber fuse. This is not fiber fuse. This is fiberglass mesh. Fiber fuse is a different product. I've tried it. I hate it. That's just me. Other people love it. I don't. I find it's just way too thick, and you're always sanding through the texture. Drives you nuts. I'm not putting any texture on these walls. I'm making them nice and smooth because I'm going to make wallpaper on top of this. So I do want to have a nice smooth surface. Like icing a cake. Very much, very much. 9 more likes to hit 300. Oh, 300 likes on the video. Yeah, sure. Go for it, guys. Hit the button if you want to. That's fine. That's awesome. All right, Matt, I'm ready for some questions if you got anybody. Otherwise, we got 20 minutes. What do you say? We can maybe open up the phones. What do you think? Anybody here want a phone call? Have a question you want to get on the phone with me about? Let me know in the comments, and we'll open up the phone. David Johnson, messed up a California patch on my ceiling. It's uneven, and I'm worried if I sand too far, I'll just go through to the gypsum. Would you recommend cutting a hole and trying again? No. What I would recommend is go on Amazon and buy the 3-foot blade. Okay, it looks like an oversized windshield wiper. All right, so big plastic handle and an aluminum sleeve on it, and then you can put mud on your ceiling, and then you can actually use that blade in a circular motion, keeping pressure on the outside, all right, to create a big enough of a patch that you can't see the adjustment in height anymore. That's really the answer. Use a great big blade to solve a problem like that. All right, cut a new hole, you got all new problems, and then you're going to be making mud 4 or 5 foot wide anyway. So just get the blade, and then you've got a tool for life that'll save your bacon every time you need it. All right. Pam Stockwell, the 5/8 plywood you used on the floor in your Florida home didn't have a nice finish on top. Are you adding something else before you put down the LVP? Not necessary. And that's the thing. I saved a lot of money with that. You're going to find that if your finished plywood is uneven, has little dips and holes and scalloped a little bit, that's okay. If you're buying a quality product that's at least 5 millimeters thick, that has a stone polymer core, all right, with a good backing on it, it's going to hold up just fine. It's not going to translate any of those holes. If you're buying a WPC, like a wood plastic core, or it's soft, like the Home Depot product, then yeah, that stuff translates. You got to have a really nice floor. So you might want to use a patch compound to fill all the gaps first, but not necessary. Not necessary when you got a quality floor. Paco, what's a good way to finish up corners? That's something I'm struggling in my current project. Okay. If you're having trouble with your corners, mud one side, okay, and then sand off the other side with one of these. Let me just get, I'm going to use this in a minute, but here it is. Use a 9-inch radial sander, okay? Like, look how much area that covers. So you can set this to be like an inch or two past your corner, and this is on the flat wall, okay? So you mud this side, and you're going to have excess material. So if you come at it from this side and just gently sand the ridges of that excess material, you'll sand them all back to be perfectly flat with your wall. If you use too much pressure, you'll break it off. But if you just gently sand it, then you can sand it back perfectly flush. You can do one side and then the other side the same way, and leave extra material around the corner. And using this sander gently will take care of that problem for you, bud. All right. Wow, it's warm in here today. My goodness, all these lights, all this work. I wonder how that's drying. All right. Doris, is better paint spray machine or traditional weight in a basement? Oh, well, paint spray machines are a new skill, right? And so it's just a basement, right? Like a lot of times paint spray machines we use on projects that are thousands of square feet. Now I did a basement and I used the paint spray machine just to show you the option, but there's a lot of work to set up and clean up that machine. So in a lot of cases, it doesn't make any sense inside your house, all right? So unless you're only using one color, it can be a lot of work to transition, right? So I would say keep it simple. You do the brush and roller. By the way, I want to show you something neat. I didn't know this until I got down here, but here's my Worcester cages from Canada, all right? They're great. I love them. And then I bought some sleeves down here in the United States. Guess what? Your sleeves are almost an inch shorter than ours. This looks kind of goofy, doesn't it? Like, isn't that nuts? I didn't know. Did anybody else know this? The sleeves in America are shorter. They're designed to make you take longer to get your job done. Not even sure why that's a thing. But, you know, yeah, now that I'm doing that, I want to put a tape measure on it. Because we use 9-inch. Yeah. So you guys are like 8.5. My sleeve here is 9.5. So we use 9.5-inch roller. You guys are using 8.5. Just a little fun food for thought. So when I go to paint this wall in a few minutes, there's a reason why it looks silly. Trust me on that. Okay. Right? Size does matter. That extra inch, man, that's like more than 10%. So if you're going to paint for 10 hours, you could have been done in 9. Think about it. Like that's a lot of work. All right. Oh my goodness. Anyway, does anybody want to make a phone call? Let me know in the comment section. I wasn't paying attention. Matt, Michelle, if anybody noticed, then there's a number on the screen. I'm going to just take this off of airplane mode now. And then once I'm up airplane mode, it'll actually ring. All right, we're in business. We got a few minutes to kill here, so if anybody's got a technical question you want to have a little back and forth, it might be a good idea. Yeah. Hey, a little off topic, but I have a crack in my ceiling. How do I go about fixing this? Not sure if it's water damage or just for paint. It's in an apartment complex, and I'm downstairs. I guess it all depends. How old is the apartment complex? Is it plaster? Like my daughter has an apartment in Toronto. It's a 3-story walk-up, and it's all plaster, and it's just cracking all over the place, right? Looks like the bottom of a dried out riverbed. All right, we got someone from Washington State calling. Here we go. Hello, Jeff's here. Who am I speaking with?
Hey, David from Tacoma, Washington.
Yeah, I'm sorry. What's your name?
Oh, David.
David. Well, nice to meet you, David. What can I do to help you out, buddy?
Oh, nice to meet you very much. Hey, thank you for all your help for watching your videos. Hey, I was just kind of curious. You've done popcorn ceiling videos before,
sure.
And I'm afraid to scrape that off because it's a little too much for me, I think. And then I'm worried that there might be asbestos in there.
Well, what's the age of your home, David?
It's 29. That part, 1929.
Yeah, so the answer is yes. Yeah. How high is your ceiling?
Oh, it's 9 foot at least. Maybe
Okay.
A little more.
Okay.
Pretty high.
Well, here's another option. Has the ceiling ever been painted?
Yes.
Okay.
And unfortunately, it was me when we bought the house.
No.
So it's a nice big
That's
day on there.
probably good news for you. So what you've done is you've encapsulated the asbestos. And in the world of asbestos abatement, we call that encapsulation. So that's a safe environment to be in, okay? That also means that you can then go out and buy yourself some all-purpose compound, grab yourself one of these 4x10 trowels, skim coat the ceiling, okay? And then you can actually install brand new drywall right over top.
Okay. Do you need to skim coat that before you screw on that thin drywall?
Yeah, you do, because it's an adhesive bond.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Because also you can see in that ceiling where I can see the seam. So there's been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like, listen, I mean, even in the 20s, they used 16-inch on center framing. So you can just take a drill like I did, and you can just poke around a little bit, identify your framing. And it's probably from that area, it's going to be an actual 1-inch piece of lumber. Okay. So it's relatively safe to put a screw in there. So you buy a 1.5 or 1 3/4 inch screw, add a little bit of compound, grab yourself one of those drywall lift machines, and you put the drywall on it, and you can skim coat the drywall, and then just lift the sheet into place, okay? And use some laminating screws, or like great big corkscrew laminating screws. Some of these products you're going to have to go to a professional drywall store, okay? Do a Google search, find one in your area. You're in Washington, you'll have lots. Get some laminating screws. And if you can't find the stud, use the laminating screws. And if you can find lumber, then great. Use a nice long drywall screw. Just don't go more than an inch thicker than the ceiling assembly, because you never know when you're going to find electrical.
Oh yeah, no, I've been up there and I know what's up there. In fact, there's a lot of room in between, and I replace electrical with a permit, so we're good.
Oh, there you go. Okay, well, that's a great way to add another ceiling, and it'll last another 100 years.
Oh, awesome! And hey, I just wanted to thank you too, because we just blew insulation up everywhere, and we watched one of your older videos on that too.
Yeah, so from the farmhouse. That's awesome. Well, very well. Yeah. Good job, buddy. All right. Well, thanks for the call, David.
Thank you very much, and appreciated all the stuff you do.
Awesome, buddy. We'll talk to you again sometime. Cheers.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
There you go. Another satisfied customer. Wow. Yeah, you can rent those drywall lifts. Not a big deal. 1 or 2 days, you can do most of the main floor of a house. Hello, Jeff here. Who am I speaking with?
Hey, Jeff. Mike from New York.
Mike from New York. How you doing, Mike?
How's it going? So I had that question about the ceiling.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty much. I live on a downstairs apartment, and the upstairs. Not sure if it's water damage or not, but whenever we try to install keep ceiling. And I want some paint jobs around the house, and that just keeps what I'm trying to do.
Yeah. Okay. So walk me through this. How old is the building you're in?
30, 40 years old.
Okay, so 1980, give or take, maybe 1990. That's not that old. All right, so you're dealing with all modern building materials. So right away, you know that it's not an issue with oil-based paint mixed with latex. If your paint is peeling, you do have a moisture issue. So it could be a small drip from where the shower valve is assembled. A lot of times those are compression valves, right? So it actually requires a plumber with a wrench to put that on, and it's buried in a wall, and they can develop drips over time. Or it could be condensation from a hot and a cold line too close together. And the hot line really should be insulated so that doesn't happen. But you've got a water source up there somewhere if you got peeling paint on anything built after 1974.
Gotcha.
That's when we changed building code. We no longer use oil-based paints in houses. And so there's really no expectation for there to be any oil-based paint on that ceiling. So it won't be a delamination issue. Do you have air conditioning in that unit?
It's an inlet wall, so it's pretty much one that sticks out of the wall.
Yeah. But air conditioning keeps the air dry. And so if you do have a water issue, it may not manifest into something that's massive like a flood. It can just be a constant drip. Air conditioning keeps it dry. You got the heat on in the wintertime, and your paint peels. It's probably a little uglier if you open the ceiling. It's probably got a little bit of a mold developing because it'll be attached to some wood somewhere, and all wood has mold in it. And so if the wood stays wet, the mold grows. All right? But if it's a small space where the paint's peeling, you expect your mold to be about the same size on the other side. So anything less than 15 square feet is a DIY project. You don't have to call the hazmat people. It's not a big problem, okay?
Okay, cool.
So the secret here, cut open the peeling paint, stick a flashlight up there. All water leaks leave a stain on the wood, and you can trace it back. You can get whoever's in charge of the apartment to come out and take a look, find the source and fix it, and then you can patch it up. Otherwise, you're just going to keep on patching wet walls, and the moisture is going to keep coming through, and it's just going to destroy your new work anyway.
Yeah, that's what's happening.
Yeah. Well, good on you, but that's the way to get about it. Okay. All right. Good luck, buddy. Cheers. You're welcome, man. Yeah, that's awesome. See, sometimes you got to answer a question with a little back and forth, right? A little bit of this, a little bit of that, throw in a little building science, a little bit of practical experience and life experience, and we can get the right solution to your problem. Got a call from Alabama here. Hello, cheers. It's Jeff. Who am I speaking with?
Hey, Jeff, it's David down in Alabama.
David in Alabama. Well, that's great, David. What can we do to help you out today, buddy?
Hey, man, so I've got some problems with this house. We purchased a house built in 1930. It's a fixer-upper. The biggest thing that we're working on right now is some drywall issues. The previous owners put drywall over the lath and plaster.
Okay.
So now the drywall is pretty much flush with all of the trim.
Yes.
About an eighth of an inch gap.
Gotcha.
And we're trying to figure out what's the best way to, make the trim stand out more without it being too far out.
Okay. Well, there's a couple of options. Now, so they've gone over the lath and plaster, and it's what are the age? 20s or 30s?
Yeah, built in 1930.
Okay, so 1930, when we were building, they actually used a piece of hardwood, like a half-inch or a three-quarter stock by 3-inch or 4-inch at the very bottom. And that was kind of like a way to create a nailing surface for the trim board and a thickness gauge for the lath and plaster on the wall. Okay? And so what you've got there is if you can peel your trim off, you're not going to destroy your plaster wall. You can just add another piece of half-inch MDF or half-inch drywall, finish it to the ground, and you can go back with a brand new baseboard. Sometimes the easiest solution is if you got a 4-inch base and there's a gap and then the drywall, take the old base off, put in a piece of drywall. You don't even have to tape it. Just buy a 5-inch baseboard, and that'll cover the gap. So there's no extra work. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, for sure. That's a great idea. So we were kind of leaning in the direction of getting just a sheet from our lumberyard of like 1/4 inch or half-inch MDF and ripping down strips and just slapping it right over the top. Something like that. Yeah,
you could go with a modern trim look and just add something rectangular right over the top up to the drywall and then just flat caulk the difference. So you're going to squeeze caulking into the gap and then use a drywall knife to finish it off nice and flat. And no one will know the difference.
Man, that's a fantastic idea. Thank you so much for your help.
All right, buddy. Cheers, man. Good luck with your project.
Thanks. Have a good day.
All right, bye-bye. There you go. Yeah, that's so a lot of times people would add the drywall, but then they use a 1/4 inch or a 3/8, and it comes finished with the trim board itself. So you go with the higher trim board, go with that modern look, and if there's any gap, you just fill it up with caulking. Be obnoxious about it, okay? And then you take a drywall tool like this one. Where'd it go? No. There we go. You can take a drywall tool like this. And let's say the phone is my new baseboard, and here's my wall, and I got a gap. You put all that caulking in there, and then just run this along like this, nice and flat. And you can finish it to make it look like the board you've got is just a little thicker. All right, cheers. It's Jeff here. Who am I speaking with?
Hey, this is John. How are you?
John in Florida. I'm good, man. What can we do to help you out?
Hey, I'm actually up north now in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Florida number. So I also have a 1930s classic home, and it's a brick twin.
Okay.
And my front door, my entry door, is 36 wide by 84 high.
Yes.
And I just, winterizing and sealing up the house. I want to replace, the original wood door. It has, a lot of glass stain in it. I don't want to replace it with a fiberglass door with maybe like a triple stained glass. Would I be better off buying regular fiberglass door off the shelf, like 80 by 36, or am I better off getting a custom 84-inch high door?
You know what? I guess that all depends on two things. The outside brick, you said?
Yeah.
Okay, so think about this. It really comes down to aesthetics, because you can insulate whatever gap and you can trim a gap You can use, like casing on the inside. You can go extra wide. You can do an aluminum flashing on the outside. But is that the look you're looking for on your home where you live in? And unfortunately, when you customize that door, you're probably throwing an extra $1,000 or more at the solution, aren't you?
Exactly. And my priority is, I'm sure the aesthetics, but my main priority is air seal,
Yeah. Okay. Well, if you're looking for air seal, then you can put a standard door. You can use an aluminum cap flashing on the outside and spray foam that gap.
Yep. Okay.
Okay. And you should be able to find a guy in your neighborhood who will bend the aluminum for you. Right?
I have somebody that helps me by windows.
There you go. So
a lot of windows.
you can just bring in a picture and draw the shape for them and give them the dimensions. They'll bend a piece for you, and then you can just install it with some polyurethane sealant for the outside, and you'll be good to go.
Now, with that phone, do I want to use the window and door low expansion?
Low expansion. Exactly. Low expansion, and you're not trying to fill the whole cavity. All right? You're just trying to create a thermal break where the door is and your insulation is. So don't worry about filling foam all the way out to where the brick is. You just think about the interior wall and where it contacts your door. That's where you want your foam. All right? So fill it up on the inside, not all the way to the outside. You can create too much compression as it expands and then warp your jam and have door issues.
Yeah.
All right?
All right. Thanks for the information. I appreciate it.
Cheers, my man. You're gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine. And they have really good exterior sealants where you can work all the way down to about, you're in the American scale, probably in the low 30s. So even if it takes a couple weeks to get the door in and you start getting colder weather, you can still use it. It's going to be $2 a tube more, but it's going to work for you. All right. Just make sure you buy the winter caulking. All right, bud. Cheers, man.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, let's just double check our wall here, see how we're doing. Oh, she's feeling good, but it's not ready for a sand. All right. Oh my God. Oh, all right. Ah, here we go. One more question from Michigan. Hello, Jeff here. Who am I speaking with?
Hey, Jeff. This is Anthony in Royal Oak, Michigan. How you doing?
I'm great, Anthony. Cheers. You're bringing some energy to the show here, bud.
Yeah, you got a great program, man.
Well, thanks.
I got a question about a thermostat in an unheated mudroom.
Okay.
The shotgun ranch with the ridge line symmetrical that separates the left unit and the right unit.
Okay.
One furnace for both units.
Okay.
The thermostat is in an unheated mudroom on
So
the entryway.
that takes a lot of experience to know how to set that temperature, huh?
Yeah, well, you got to make sure the other guy closes the door, right?
Well, that's a part of the issue. Yeah. Yeah. And how old's the house?
1920.
So then how the wind blows also affects the effectiveness of that thermostat.
I weatherproofed the jams on the door.
Okay.
Weatherproofed the jams on the storm door. So
Yep.
there's a storm door and an entry door. However, is there a type of thermostat that can actually have some type of probes that actually enter a heated space rather than just having to keep it in an unheated space?
Yeah, I don't know why it's in an unheated space. That really doesn't make any sense because generally speaking, there's just a simple little 3-wire that goes from the furnace to the thermostat and they communicate together. It's low voltage wiring. So you could just find your furnace, figure out where you want that, bring the wire up through an interior wall into an empty stud bay cavity, poke a hole in the drywall and bring it through and install a brand new, and then just cancel the old one.
But we have to share the thermostat.
You have to share the thermostat. Well, if that unheated space is the only shared space, then that's an issue, eh?
Yeah, trying to talk to a pro, see if he's got any new gizmos or gadgets out there.
The only thing you can do is you can put in one thermostat on one side, and it can be new Google smart technology, and you can share the wireless access to it.
That's a really smart idea.
That's problem solved. Low tech, low fi, but at least you both have the ability to, if somebody's on vacation, to make modification, right?
That's outstanding.
Yeah, give that a shot. The Google Nest, I think it's like 79 or 80 bucks.
Easy. You can just have to reroute the 12 volt, right?
Just run that wire to a new interior wall somewhere, and be like, yeah, I'm moving it inside. We'll have more control. Here's the wireless access if you need to make any adjustments. That's
and
unique.
When it doesn't make payment, you change the password.
Well, that's that's between you and God, my friend. All right.
Thank you so much, my friend.
You're welcome, bud.
Good afternoon. Cheers to all your work.
All right, man. Cheers. Bye-bye. Yeah, there you go. There's always a creative solution to every problem out there. Oh, my goodness. We need about another 10 minutes before I can sand that wall, guys. So we're just going to keep on answering questions. Matt, why don't you throw some up on the phone? I'm on the screen here. I've been out of the chat a little bit. Sherry's back. Can I put a good texture on my ceiling to hide all the bowing from it getting wet? Oh, yeah, Sherry. Texture, spraying on the ceiling, especially if it's knocked down, covers a multitude of sins. You can basically cover imperfections coming and going of like an inch variance over the wall, over the ceiling, and no one will ever know the difference, right? Because you're adding so many shadows. Remember, we're talking about this is the art of illusion. Texture is the art of illusion by creating so many shadows. The brain, in so many different shapes, the brain can't identify the depth of field of any of those shadows. So yes, it works really, really well. One of the reasons why texture is so common in a lot of home construction is because it makes everything else everybody else did idiot-proof. It's like a guaranteed looks great finish. Moving on, right? It doesn't take any skill to spray texture and knock it down. Making a flat wall with a hand trowel takes a little bit of skill. So this is cool. Nothing wrong with that. Ah, brilliant. All right. Well, let me go check to see how this is working out. The last thing you want to do is be too quick to sand. Oh, that was wet right there. Oh, yes. You know what? You're going to forgive me for 10 seconds. I'm going to go to the other room and bring the fan in a little bit closer so we can get some direct contact in here. We're going to speed this sucker up. Alrighty. Here we go. My concern with having it in the room was the noise issue. But I have it on low. We're going to turn it on high speed. All right. Now let's test this noise cancellation technology. I want you guys to let me know in the comment section. Do you hear the fan? Is it like really prevalent? Anthony's got a question. Any tips on drywalling over paint for patches? Mine always leaves a different texture in the light. Am I not sanding enough? Need more coats of paint? Yeah, here's the thing. You can't hear the fan. That's awesome. Thanks, Penny Henny. Anthony, drywall and paint and compound, texture is a real thing. The roller makes texture. Drywall compound makes texture. Multiple layers of paint makes even more texture. Which brand of paint is on the wall makes different texture. Like that bare paint creates texture like stalactites. It's just nasty. It's almost like knockdown. It's so thick and messy. So when you're trying to blend old and new drywall, the best thing you can do, skim coat all the old walls to make them smooth like the new smooth walls. Okay? That's the best thing you can do. Put a transition primer on there. Make sure that you're guaranteed if your house is before 1975 that you've put a transition primer on there so you're blocking against the oil, so you guarantee a good bond. Do a skim coat on that transition wall, because trying to just go half and half always ends in a failure. It's maddening. It's a lot easier to just do like a butt joint from floor to ceiling and just do the whole damn wall. Or rip the whole drywall off and put all drywall on, right? Because you're right, that texture is maddening. Okay, I got a question here from Zach, buying a 1930s house in upstate New York. You know what's funny? Before we answer the question, how many people just call the 1930s house question? Like, 30s are affordable. They're thermal pains in the ass. They have so much creative roof lines and nooks and valleys and a lot of lumber and not enough insulation. So if you're buying one of those, be prepared for higher energy bills. The best thing you can do in a lot of these cases is actually try to get spray foam into those ceiling cavities. Remove the flat ceiling, open up the spaces, engineer some new collar ties or metal brackets, open up your peaks and just spray foam all of it before you close up. That gives you great character and a much better thermal break. Anyway, upstate New York, I believe, is asbestos tile on the ceiling. It most likely is. Can I skim coat and knock down texture over it without having to put drywall over it? Asbestos tile. So if it's tile, it's going to be stapled on. If you're talking about those 12 by 12s that kind of have like a tongue and groove joint, it's got like a sound deadening kind of whole popcorn kind of look into it. That's all stapled in. They do have expansion contraction. So if you're going to try to do something like that, you really are looking at using that great big 3-foot wide by 100-foot roll of mesh tape, skim coat, put the mesh panel on, and then you can do the knockdown texture. I would even recommend using a flat paint on that ceiling tile first to seal it and make sure that your drywall compound is going to get a good bond. Otherwise, throw on a 1/4-inch drywall first, because you know there's strapping every 12 inches on that stuff, right? So it's easy to find the strapping holes. It's probably easier just to add the 1/4-inch drywall and then just do the knockdown on that. All right, cheers. Hudson and Beep, love your stuff. Just moved into a new place and have dings all over the stairwell where there is a flat white bare product. Is the solution mud into dent, smooth, travel it in, sand kills, roll? All right, let's just go through your process here, right? Okay, you've got bare paint, which has really huge texture. Even though it's flat paint, it's huge texture. You got a dent. So you fill the dent, you smooth it with sanding. Okay, I see. I'm going to trowel, sand, kills, and then roll. You don't necessarily need kills. Like I said, it's an oil-based paint. And so, but if you're only going to do one coat of finish paint, then, and you're going to use bare again, which I would recommend, because if you got a bare texture, you want to keep the bare texture or it's going to be just screaming. Then yeah, you could use the kills as a primer, give it about 15 minutes and before you roll, and then you're going to be good. All right. The only risk that you have is that the one coat of bare may not cover the kills. It might flash. Okay. Depending on which quality you're getting. So make sure you're up, not necessarily Dynasty, but you're not at the bottom end. Go to somewhere in the middle. All right. And the stain coverage on that is actually pretty good. All righty. My upstairs bedroom has a pitcher's mound in one area. Structural engineer okayed the house. Sure, it may not fall over, but batter up, eh? I'm thinking subfloor now. What do you think? How do you know how much you can shave off joists safely? That's a great question. And here's the answer. If you have a 2x10, you can shave it down to 2x8. And then you can laminate a 3/4-inch plywood by 8 foot long on the side of that joist at 7 1/4 inches. And it'll be stronger than a 2x10. All right? So that's how you kind of do the math. So if you're starting with a 2x8 and you're going to start planing, sandwich plywood on each side, glue it with PL Premium and screw it all together and make yourself a lumber and glue sandwich. All right. And it'll be stronger than the original floor joist. I guarantee you. All right. Sherry thinks that there's more than an inch and she's it might fall. If you think your ceiling might fall on you, Sherry, then take it down. Do it on purpose, because if it happens by accident, a chunk of plaster this big coming off the ceiling can weigh 70 or 80 pounds. Okay? And if it's been painted and it breaks off and it falls like this, it could do some serious damage. It could knock you right out and bust your head open. So don't play with a broken ceiling. All right? If you think it's going to risk of falling down, then add strap to the existing wood with good long nails, or a screw, sorry, and add a brand new sheet of drywall. Don't try to just patch what you got. Nathaniel Kolawa. I've said that wrong, I'm sure, but he's a member and I'm going to answer his question. I want to smooth out my textured ceiling. Okay, what's the best way going about it? Scrape or just replace with new drywall? In a nutshell, if your house is built after 1975, the popcorn ceiling does not have asbestos. And so therefore, it is probably going to be just safe to scrape it off. And in most of the cases, they don't prime the ceiling before they add their texture. They're supposed to, but most guys in the business just throw a little bit of ceiling paint in the mix with texture and spray it all together. All right, so if you spray a little bit of mist of water up there, the popcorn will suck it up, it scrapes off real easy. Give the ceiling a light sand, you prime it, and then you put a couple of skim coats on there, sand and finish, and you've got a brand new ceiling. All right, let's go through some more. I'm feeling like that wall is drying a little slower than I was hoping. Dave wants to know if there's any tips for replacing a window from the inside. Outside access is a no-go. Yeah, if you're replacing from the inside, I would suggest that you buy your window with the jamb attached as part of the build. Okay, so you've got the window, and then you've got your jamb. Okay, and that way, with your jamb on each side, on your side of the house, you can then attach a board that's longer than the jamb, so that you can set the window in place without it falling out onto the street. All right. Now, regardless, you're going to have to go to that outside at some point to do a seal around there. So I'm not sure what I mean by outside is a no-go, but that's basically how that works. All right. Wow. Oh, okay. I don't know if you got a question, guys. You want to give me a call? The phone's open. You know, we can solve a lot of problems that way. Doris has a question. What dimensions do I need for the drill for installing flooring insulation, foam and plywood like you use in one of your videos? Okay, Doris, real quick. If you're putting in foam and plywood, like my most recent basement video, you also have to have a very, very dry basement, okay? That was a specific product for a specific situation. So if your basement's extremely dry and you don't have any water issues, then that works fine. Basically what you do is you take a look at your floor assembly, which is the thickness of the foam plus the thickness of the plywood, all right? And you want 1 inch at least, I would say 1 1/4 in the concrete. So add all that together and get the screw that fits that situation. And then the Tapcons come with the drill bit that'll do that depth of drill as well, okay? And the drill bit will go through the wood and the foam and the concrete. So you can buy it all in the same box, and that'll save your bacon. All right, cheers. Spencer is a member. Cheers, Spencer. By the way, did you know that we're having a members-only live show for 2 hours on December the 16th? You weren't aware? And we're going to spend some time really deep diving into some questions and answers for you guys. I'm going to have a lot of fun with that. Build the deck you built for your daughter this May in Ottawa with pressure-treated deck boards. Is it okay if I stain seal it in the spring? Do I sand first? Okay. Yeah. If you did it with pressure-treated lumber, then a light sanding in the spring isn't going to hurt. Okay. Definitely. And it's because they plane it, right? So you're going to have that little glaze, that film from the planing process. You still want to get that off. And you want to wait till the spring, that'll be fine. No worries at all. Just wait until you've had a good week of dry weather before you go and add a stain seal so that you can be confident that everything's dried out to that optimum level and you'll be good. Cheers, Spencer, and way to build a deck, dude. That's awesome. All right, he's going to be there on the 16th. Cheers. I think we're going to do something like from 2 to 4 in the afternoon. All right. That just seems like the kind of time of day that people are available. Maybe 3 to 5. I can't know. I have to check the update. Guys, if you want to know, make sure you check out the community post for members. That information will be there. I can be wrong. Lord knows it's happened before. You want the Derman oil product? You could. The Osmo deck oil is really good. Just make sure you buy the right one because they've got interior, exterior, vertical, horizontal, and countertop products. So you really want to go to their osmo.com site and go through the products and find the exact product for you. Started messing around with that before I really understood the breadth and the depth of their product line. And they've got some really good stuff. Or you can also just go over and see our friend Mark over at oh, why is my brain not working? Okay. Yeah, it's a paint store. Wow. In Ottawa. Wow. My God, I've been in the sun too long around here. Anyway, let's move on, and that'll come back to me later, Spencer, and I'll let you know. It's right at Bank Street at the highway. Why can't I put that together? Anyway, they got some great stuff over there. Oh, my God. All right. Let's see if this is ready to go. Nope. Still not ready. Woo-wee. It's close, but it ain't ready yet. All right. Anyway, Randall's Paint. Thank you. Somebody saved my bacon and put Randall's Paint carries the C2 product line. I'm really loving it. Okay. It's a great thing. They come with like almost 15 or 20 different stain colors. And it absorbs into the wood. It doesn't just sit on top. It's not like a paint. It actually absorbs into the product. And so after a few years, if it starts to fade out a little bit, you can just apply another coat without doing any prep work. And that is a gift from God right there to be able to do that, because you never want to have to scrape and sand and redo your deck. Almost everything else in the market sits on the surface. This stuff impregnates the wood with color. So it's a much better product. David wants to know how he deals with peeling latex trim paint that's over oil paint. Well, here's what you do. Guys, if you have oil trim, you have to prime it with a flat oil. Flat oil bonds to latex. Gloss oil doesn't. Okay? So it's painful. What you're going to need is a scraper, and you got to take all that paint off, and then you're going to have to prime it again. All right. Spencer. Oh, man. Yeah, the ladies came to the rescue on that one, Sandy, for sure. Are all paint primers made equal? That's a great question. No. No. The word primer is misleading. Okay? There is primer that's just for drywall that's brand new, and it's a solar as well. There's primer, it's called the transition primer, to go from oil to latex. There are primers that you use when you want to have, you're going to put on some crazy color, and it's going to take 9 coats, and you can use a primer that's tinted, and that's a primer for that situation. There's a primer that you put on certain types of wood to keep the stains from the coming through. There's all kinds of products out there. They're all called primers. And so, no, one is not just everything. Oh, and there's that paint out there that's like paint and primer in one. Yeah, there's no primer in that. I don't care what anybody says. It's just paint. All right. Oh, Justin says, when doing my trim, I did a bad job with the joints. Can I use something to patch it well, or do I need to redo? Well, Justin, here's the deal. If you have a Dynaflex caulking, write that down, Dynaflex, D-Y-N-A, and a 4-inch drywall knife, okay, you can actually use the Dynaflex and you can shape it into the hole, and it'll expand and contract, and it'll never crack and show that you've got a gap. You can fill any kind of gap using a knife to finish it off nice and flat and smooth with your trim, okay? And so you can really get away with a lot of that. Now, if you've got a colonial trim and it's an outside corner and they don't match up, it looks like ugly, you can take a product called Drydex. It comes in a, it's usually pink and blue on a shelf at the Home Depot. And you can take that and you can apply that with the drywall knife, following the contour, and overlap the outside corner. And then when it's dry, you can take a sanding sponge, something like this, okay? And then you can slowly, gently contour the shape, following all those contours on each side, and you can reshape the outside corner, prime it, and paint it. And you can get away with making a really bad job look really good, all right? Cheers, buddy. It happens to all of us. You know, we all somewhere. Uranium atom. I'm looking at adding LVP in my basement, but the existing slab doesn't have a vapor barrier, and I've only got about 77.5 inches. Is there a thin with vapor barrier and insulation? Yeah, 77 inches is still not that terrible. There is a product out there from Drycore people, and it's Insul Armor, and it is a insulation, rigid foam insulation that's got air gap trough under technology on the bottom, and it's rated for compression that you can put the flooring right on top. So you're gonna lose 1.25 inches, okay? Or you can go to a place like a Floor & Decor, and you can buy a cork underlayment that acts as the absorption, the sound, a bit of a thermal rating, and a vapor barrier all at the same time. Because what the floor is a vapor barrier all by itself. So putting something like cork between your concrete and your vinyl in an old house still works. The thing is, houses usually have a lot of slope. So check your slope and compare that to your product, because vinyl doesn't do well with slopes. So make sure that you're not getting a really wide vinyl plank that can only have like a 1/4 inch over 4 feet, because older houses with the low ceilings generally don't have flat floors. All right. We should do a meet and greet at the Barhaven Home Depot this summer. That sounds interesting. or maybe next door at the the Heart and Crown. Anyway, when is Jeff making his way to the tri-state area? Who knows? My future is quite uncertain. It's up for grabs. There's a lot going on, but we're having a blast. Is 3K quotes for contractor drywall ceiling too high? Well, that all depends. Is it 10 square feet or 10 million? Like I don't know how to answer that. But I'll tell you this right now: if you're not going to do the job yourself, you're going to get quotes from people that are going to be somewhat unrealistic, because there's not a lot of guys out there working right now. So I don't know of anybody who's having a hard time keeping busy, is what I'm saying. And when they're busy, contractors always over it. And they'll only take the jobs from the desperate people who are going to pay way too much for their time. That's the way it works. And when things are in the reverse order, right, and there's not enough work, then they work for cheap. So you don't get mad at them for making a buck when the times are in their favor, because it's not always the same. The economy changes on a regular basis. So when things are hot, they're going to get paid. And when things are cold, they're going to work for food. But I don't think that'll ever happen again for the next 20 or 30 years, because not enough people want to have a job nowadays. So they're going to be expensive more and more, as you see. All right. Can insulating underlayment be put under carpet pad? Insulating underlayment. I'm not sure what product you mean, but generally carpet pad is an insulating underlayment all by itself. So it's not necessary to overdo that. All right. Wow. It is 4:15. That is crazy. I mean, I can almost make it just by wiping my hand. Oh, yeah, it's just not ready. It's just too cold in here. I need some heat. All right. Spencer wants to know, if I had to start a handyman side business now, would you go with a van or a pickup truck? Oh, that's a great question. Depends on what business I'm starting. If I was starting a business right now, I'd be really super niched. Like, I wouldn't do everything. I would probably be just doing drywall patch and repair. And then for that, a pickup truck. You don't need a lot of material unless you're supplying the drywall. And then in Ottawa, obviously, you want to have a van because you want to stick a 4x8 sheet of drywall in that and not have it get caught in the weather, right? But the bottom line is, yeah, there's not enough people doing anything. So you can really niche down and just become a drywall repair guy. Do drywall repair to priming, because the Terry-on warranty business for new home construction and custom builders and everybody else only requires you to do a repair back to prime. And so your whole business model is to do the repair, sand it and prime it and walk away and let someone else worry about the finished paint job. Doesn't even have to be your thing. Jim, welcome to the membership program, my friend. If you're watching live, if you're not, cheers anyway. All right. It is 3:18. Wow, no, 3 hours and 18 minutes into this. My God, it's 4:21. Yeah, I was a couple minutes late today. Oh, I hate being late. Okay. Well, we're probably going to have to run the show closer to 5:30. So I got time to paint. All right. Well, listen, the good news is this. I'm going to be wallpapering this wall, so it doesn't have to be perfect right now. Right? This has to be close to perfect. Yeah, you prefer repainting homes. You know, being a painter is actually a great gig. Doing paint work is actually really, really profitable. Lots of people don't do well with ladders, don't know how to cut in, don't want to take all day long, putting blue tape all over the place, wrapping themselves up like mummies. So it's a great gig to get into. All right. Let's get on with this. I'm going to start some sanding procedures. I'm going to show you a couple of tips and tricks. All righty. Where's my special toy? Oh, nuts. There it is. Of course, it had to fall off my bench. All right. So I'm going to show you something new, guys. Here's my paint stick, right? I use this in conjunction with these cages. Check this out. They've got a pin lock system on it. Nice and close there for everybody, okay? All right? Locked. The cage does not roll around. The handle extends by putting a pin in the holes. Pin in holes, locked, okay? It has this adapter that locks. Now that's a universal thread. So I can put things like drywall on the end of my pole. Okay, so you have one tool that acts as everything that you need. Now, sanding is all about light duty. Okay, we're not trying to be too aggressive here. Wow, that pad is really in rough shape. Putting scratch lines in my new mud. Don't like that. Always have a backup. All right. The new anvil line down here in the States. Anvil this, anvil that. Generally speaking, everything from anvil seems to be light duty. But how difficult is it to make sandpaper? Right? Got to be able to trust that. There, that's better. Okay. Yeah, you can see where that mud wasn't quite dry enough there. Ah, I'm pushing too early. Okay, now just gentle. Yeah, that's still, you can feel it. But areas where the mud went on nice and thin, it's dry. Okay. That sure beats bending over, doesn't it? All right. Brilliant. Now, for the rest of the sanding, I'm going to use the sanding block. Okay. 9-inch radial sanders are available on Amazon.com. Make your life simple. The link in the video description. Just go and grab one. You can have it next day. Okay. You're welcome, Doris. Just going to knock off a couple of ridges near the ceiling. Remember, I'm putting wallpaper here. Second sheet. All right. My wall is already super thin. Yeah, okay. There we go. Hello, Jeff here. Who am I speaking with?
Hi, my name's Jeff.
Well, hi, Jeff. What can I do to help you out, bud?
Oh, hey. Sorry. Hey, so I am starting my bathroom remodel this weekend. What are your thoughts on being, a red guard waterproofing system versus Schluter, weed, what have you?
Well, you know what? It all comes down to this. What are you using for a shower pan?
This is going to be a bathtub. We're going to keep the bathtub system.
You're going to use a bathtub system. Okay. So whenever you're dealing with a bathtub system, you've already got a water diversion system going on. All you've got to do is make sure that whatever water gets behind your tile has an exit. Okay. Now, traditionally with bathrooms, we put on the tile and then we use silicone to seal from the tile to the tub. And so any water that can get behind the tile gets trapped in behind the wall. And that's why it exits through the drywall or behind the tile, outside the tub, down the wall, and rots out outside the tub. So the only thing you really need to do is make sure that you use a sealer on your grout. Okay. And you want to make sure that the transition from whatever wallboard you're using to the tub flange is sealed up. So you can use something like a Curdy Fix or Lepage if you're in Canada, or Loctite seal and bond. And you can just use like a caulking to make that joint from whatever wall panel you have to the tub. If you add a red guard to it, you're just adding an extra layer of protection. But really, at the end of the day, as long as you seal your grout, you've got a 25-year shower.
Okay.
All right. The reason we have so many problems in the business, in the damage, is because new home construction, they use the cheap grout. They don't use grout with sealant. And so nobody knows when they buy the house, they got to seal their grout. So the water gets in behind there, it builds up in the tile, causes the caulking to go moldy because the water is getting into the studs, right? And so it all just decays because water gets trapped behind the tile. It can actually stack up 2-3 feet tall. It can become quite a problem. So as long as you seal your grout, you eliminate 99% of the problems that everybody in a bathroom has.
Very good. Awesome.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
appreciate that.
No, don't overthink it. It's a tub. You know, half the job's already done. Seal the grout. You won't get water behind your tile, and then you're going to be good to go.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, buddy. Good luck with the project, man.
All right,
Cheers.
thanks.
All right. I'm going to put this on airplane mode again. That is awesome because I can't work if the phone's ringing. We'll get back to questions and calls in a minute. All right. First, I'm going to make sure that my wall is nice and smooth. Funny thing about drywall. It doesn't have to be perfect in order to paint. Because I'm going to let this sit for a couple of days before I get to my wallpaper. So I'm going to just feather in my edges, get rid of some ridges. Nice and gentle. I'm barely even holding this to the wall, guys. Okay? This is not ready for me to sand. Yeah. I'm going to cause myself a lot of heartache here. This area is better because the fan's been on it. Okay. But really, whew. Okay, now we got, what do we got? Is that the good one? I can't remember. One's which? No, that's the good one. Okay. I'm going to get my primer out with my 8.5-inch sleeve with my 9.5-inch roller. Imagine that. You know, I've been pretty hard on Behr over the years. This is one product they make I actually like. This is their drywall primer. You see right here, it says primer and sealer. Okay, primer and sealer. This is the stuff you want to use. Frank, if I prefer Worcester over Purdy. It's like, I'll tell you the truth, Frank. The Purdy that's being sold in Home Depot isn't even the good line of Purdy. Right? So Worcester is just fine. You've got to be a pretty damn fine painter before the kind of brush you use becomes an issue. I'll put it to you this way. On the curve of life, you've got to be an NHL hockey player before you can buy a $400 hockey stick and it makes a difference in your game. You know what I mean? Like, as a DIYer, you're like a kid playing pond hockey, right? Any stuff will do. Don't worry about it. Worcester brush is a good quality brush. It's at an affordable price, and it's going to do just fine for what we're doing. Okay? So it's the tool isn't going to make it any better. Having a $400 hockey stick when you're 9 years old isn't going to make your game any better. It's just going to make people not like you. Okay. There we go. So this is a Wooster Pro. Good brush. $2, 3.5 inch angled, or 3-inch angled. Sorry, my bad. And I like it. It works great. Here we go. Well, we're done with that low angle now, aren't we? Let's just lift this up. Here we go. Now, what you're going to find is that when you're painting, when you have your roller at the top of the ceiling, if your hands are above your heart, you're going to work too hard. Okay? You guys catch that? If your hands are above your heart when you're painting, you're working too hard. Now you're pumping your blood up to the muscles that you're using. So, open up the extension a little bit. Keep your hands nice and low. You won't get so tired. You'll find painting a lot more enjoyable if you don't have to work so bloody hard. The most exhausting thing about painting is when your heart has to work really hard to supply all that blood to those muscles that are working. Okay? So, here we go. You don't even have to work hard when you got a good stick, because this lets you apply pressure. There we are. After a few rolls, the paint really gets worked into that sleeve. You can do a little bit broader runs, but right out of the gate, we'll keep it simple. Now I'm adding a baseboard to this thing at the end of the project, so I don't need to prime where the baseboard goes. So I'm not in any risk of paint on the carpet. All right. There we are. Nice and easy. Keep your stick on the ice. Yes. Everybody know where that saying came from? My buddy Red Green. Shout out to the Canadians. Woo woo. Red Green is the guy from the old Smith and Smith show. Who remembers Smith and Smith? That'll tell you how old you are. Oh, man. Kind of like a Carol Burnett show, but made in Canada. Funny stuff. Anyway, Red Green is the duct tape dude. My favorite Red Green episode ever is when he actually took an old steel lunchbox and a thermos, and he screwed it to the top of his car. And it got rid of all the tailgaters. Because everybody drove up behind going, oh, that's going to come flying at my car any moment, right? And it was brilliant. Ah, here we go. Yes, you can paint drywall that isn't totally dry yet. And I'll tell you why. Because the paint is a water-based paint, and drywall is designed to get wet and then dry out again. So you're actually just simulating a mild water event in your wall, and the drywall is used to handling mild water events. So if you're in a big hurry and you're planning on wallpapering like me, then sanding your drywall isn't even necessary, except to knock off any big chunks. Right? Here we go. It's duct tape. Funny thing is, you can use duct tape anywhere except on ducting. My hockey team? Are you kidding me? I like the Lightning. I've been converted. I love the Emily Center, Tampa Bay. It is absolutely gorgeous down there. If you haven't been and you're a hockey fan, you got to come to Tampa Bay for hockey. It's a beautiful facility. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that is lifestyle. It's right down by the waterfront district. You know, there's plenty of parking and the traffic's really organized. You're right off the highway. Just really well thought out and engineered. The neighborhood out there has got nothing but restaurants and street seating and gorgeous weather, of course. You're right on the marina, so you can go and check out all the yachts. You go watch a game in Ottawa, you're in the middle of nowhere. Like, it's just like, you feel like cattle. Oh, well. All right, here we go. I like to use the roller first, and then the brush when I prime. And I'll use the brush for everywhere that the roller didn't get. Okay. There we go. One down. And I just need to get a little sealant around my plugs. Got to make sure that my paint will stick so that I don't have any issues. And I got to cut the ceiling here as well. My trim isn't going to be that thick. What is that deal? All right, just going to use the tray. No sense making anything else dirty for this. Okay. Here we go. Done and done. Okay. That's it for the primer. We're going to give that about 15 to 20 minutes with the fan on. And then we're going to get a coat of paint on it. And that'll be about all you wrote. Right on. Sorry, I just saw this comment from Reebok about how Red Green's the only man to convert a wash machine into an automatic bread maker. Yeah, talk about DIY, eh? That guy was unique. So Reebok, Fleetwood, that's the one. Yeah, there you go. Frank Joseph Jr., will you sand after you prime? Yes, Frank, that's the point. I sand after I prime and I sand between paint coats. I don't sand after the last coat. That's the only thing. People ask me this question all the time. When you sand, what happens? Okay, so here you go. Here's my sanding disc. Okay. It's a 150 or up to 220. 180 is fine too. Anything that's a bump rubs off and gets stuck in this paper. So, like I have a drip of paint right here. Right? I got a drip of paint right here. When I sand, this takes care of it. Okay? No problem. When I put my first coat on, I also sand again because I'm in a dirty environment. And every time you roll, you have lint from your roller, dirt in the air, blah, 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 getting stuck in your paint. So if you sand in between coats, you almost eliminate all of your problems. Whatever it is, the dirt that's in the paint tray always comes out like right away for the first coat. So sanding in between coats gets all the problems gone. It sands down any inconsistencies, turns it into dust. That dust then becomes rolled in with the rest of the new coat of paint, and that dust becomes part of the solids of the solution of the paint, right? Because it is it's a mixture, not a solution. So there's powder poured in the paint already called solids. So leaving the dust on the walls just creates more solids, gives you better hide That's all it does. And it's sanded so fine, it doesn't create a bump. So you don't have to clean your walls in between coats. You just got to give them a quick scuff and off you go to the races. And did I see that right? There was another Gautier. You just did a hard day of working. Don't forget to drink a beer now and then to enjoy life. Greetings from Belgium. Oh, so that wasn't English pounds. That was a euro. Okay. I'm sorry. I don't have my eyeglasses on. I can't see that well. All right. How about that? Wow. Jeff Palmer wants to know if I got any experience with a two-part floor paint product from Rust-Oleum. Not personally, but if it's two-part, that means you got an epoxy and you've got the activator. And when you mix it together, you get a superior finish than any other oil or latex paint. So it's probably better than not having it. Here's what I do know. If you're putting it on a concrete floor inside a house that doesn't have a vapor barrier, moisture coming through is eventually going to bubble under whatever you put on that floor. Sooner or later, someone will drag something across a bubble, it'll tear, and then your floor will be ugly again. So, yeah. You know, paint's only as good as the surface you're putting it on. That really is how that works. What grit sandpaper do I use? I use 150 or 180. For sanding in between coats, I go up to 220, depending on what the quality of the paint is. Some paints go on so smooth, you've got to up your sandpaper grit. That's just how it is. Yeah, Adam uses a 220. There you go. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So Max has got a paint question. Somebody painted directly over the drywall with no primer. Now the paint's fallen off. Here's the thing. I actually think I might be stepping over my bounds, but in the back of my head, I believe that if you Google a Sherwin-Williams commercial paint store, because there's retail and there's commercial stores, okay? The commercial stores have got all kinds of solutions and problem-solving products on the shelf that can be expensive, but they can save your bacon. And I believe they have a product that binds with new latex paint that actually, it's kind of like our solar system. We got planets and a sun and then a bunch of space. They've got some kind of technology that goes through the paint, which is kind of like the solar system. It's just a bunch of stars bonded together, right? Goes through and then bonds to that drywall. And I think they've got something out there that does that. Ask them and find out. If I'm wrong, there's a shot, but I'm pretty sure they got a product like that. Paint plus primer is a scam. Yeah, it's marketing. It's marketing. How do you take care of your brushes, rollers in between coats, and when the project is completed? Well, you wash them, right? First of all, regular hand soap is amazing at cleaning latex paint. Really, it is. The other thing is if it does get dry by accident, you can put a glass with about an inch of acetone. You can even buy it by the can at the Home Depot. It was like $5. Just stick your brush in the acetone, right? And it'll literally melt the paint off your brush. Cheers. That's a great question. All right, let me just take the phone off silent. We got about at least 15 minutes here before I can put my last coat of paint on. So I'm going to take mode off. If you got a question, give me a call, guys. Love to hear from you. More than happy to have a conversation. Oh, my goodness, my goodness. All right. Yes, never mix anything with bleach, okay? Like World War I ring a bell? It was just basically bleach and something else. That's what mustard gas is. My goodness. Bleach is dangerous mixed with anything other than just clean water. All right. Don't ever mix chemicals. You're not a chemist, right? We have a hard time just painting a freaking wall in this country. We don't need to start mixing bleach with other chemicals. Oh my goodness. All right, well, we got 300 people in the chat here right now. Let me ask you another question. We're looking at buying another project house in this. Anybody have any thoughts on the kind of projects that we should? What have we missed? Right? Love to hear your comments on that. Okay, Bandit wants to know about a paint. So yeah, suggestions: 1947 house in Canada, was, I believe, asbestos siding. Oh, well, first of all, I would spray it. All I would do to it, I would just spray it and walk away. Encapsulate that as best you can. Try to get 15 years out of it if you can. Oh my goodness. As far as the product is concerned, I use super paint on the outside of this house. It worked great. So I'm not concerned about it. You know, anything that's rated for exterior, mid-grade, don't invest too much money on something that's asbestos siding. At some point, sooner or later, you're going to have to pull the trigger and get that siding changed. And you know it. You just don't want to have to. Where am I in Florida? Yeah, my mic's cutting off again. Really? I got lots of power. Yeah, we're not sure what the problem is with that, but looking forward to getting back to Bell fiber optics. You know, we have much better internet in Canada than you guys got down here in the States, just for the record. Like, it's embarrassing. Your LTE network needs more towers. For the amount of people that live in your country, there's no excuse to have such poor internet connection. Y'all are suffering and you don't even know it. Come to Canada, find out what real internet feels like, and then come back home and demand that people invest in your infrastructure. Yeah, tried turning my mic off and on again. Well, I'm not going to bother with that. Oh my goodness. All right. Let's see if this is drying up okay. Oh, look at that. She's almost done. Another 5 minutes, we're going to be good to go. Give her a quick scuff and another coat of paint, and then I'm ready for wallpaper. Woo! Well, listen, if you got any questions, give me a ring, guys. The phone is available. Yep, it's working. Okay. Guys, no worries. We'll just keep on answering questions. It's probably canceling out the fan noise. That might be it. That's a good point. The noise cancellation technology might be at war with the fan. Ah, that's actually really smart. All right, I'll tell you what. Let's do this. I just turned off the fan. All right. Let's see if the mic works. And then we'll know if it's a noise cancellation issue. And then that'll help. Anyway. Yeah, if you're just joining us, guys, sorry about the mic issue. Hopefully that solves it. We had a fan blowing here. I've got mic cancel, noise cancellation technology. Now I'm already hearing that it sounds a lot better. Well, there you go. So it's just the fan. So my noise cancellation technology is combating with this. Well, Sandy would move to Canada for better internet, but it's too cold there. Yeah, but with great internet, you don't have to go outside. So there's that, right? There we go. Okay, guys, well, we figured it out. Noise cancellation technology interferes with the mic. Great. Will there be coming any project like the fire table and homemade hot tub or something like that in the future? Oh, yeah. We've got plans. Let me tell you something. The next house that we do, I want to go all out. I want to really go room by room and make this place so sexy. It just stinks of opulence for no other reason than we can. Okay. Bottom line, when you're doing some renovations in your own DIY little world, there's always a certain element of, you can go too far and you're not going to get the greatest return on some of the investment if you go too crazy. But if it's your house and you're going to stay there, then make it for you. Like, if you have a hot tub that seats 40, then build one. It's not that tricky. And so, yeah, we're going to have some interesting. Oh, it's cutting out, is it? All right, guys, let's try this. There we go. We should be back. Let me know if the sound is any better. It was sounding better with the fan. Oh my goodness. Frank wants to know how I would handle someone with a half-inch panel wall that's quarter-inch drywall. Cut it out and put in quarter-inch drywall. You don't have an option. Otherwise, you got to skim coat the entire wall a quarter-inch. That'd be crazy. Laura wants to know if I've ever built a catio. Oh, are you talking like one of those towers covered in carpet and stuff? Yeah, the internet service is glitching. Still making noise, mic breaking up as you're speaking. All right. Sorry, guys. That's quite a thumbnail you got there. My God. All right. Well, listen, I'm ready to go. I'm going to sand and I'm going to put my coat of paint on. And we're going to call that. Here we go. Thanks a lot for joining us today, by the way. This has been fun. I always get a kick out of hanging out with you guys. Here we go. Hopefully we were able to, you know, share some nuggets of wisdom and be useful. What in the heck did I do with my special gizmo? There it is. Oy. Yeah. You know, when you're working, things happen. Doesn't always go smooth. Now notice, wet paint over wet mud does not dry as fast. No big surprise there. But everywhere else, just fine. Oh, that was nasty. This is just for somebody to learn. When you run too fast through a project, bad things happen. Okay? I am obviously going to come back tomorrow, do a couple of minor touch-ups off camera. That is fine. Not the end of the world. So our whole goal here was to try to get all this done and dried and primed and painted. Instead, tomorrow I'm going to have to do a couple little scratch touch-ups and then paint the wall and then put on the wallpaper. Not the big deal, right? It's not the end of the world. Besides, I only gave myself 4 hours. Had I started first thing this morning, this would have been a lot easier. But we were just going to have some fun, talk turkey, hang out together, do some drywall work. And we did that. And I think that was valuable. And we just answered a lot of really interesting questions today. So hopefully it was helpful. If y'all have any more questions before we go, I think we're just going to do another few more minutes and then we'll call it. What's the better grout for the bathroom tile? Doris, it doesn't matter. You can get grout that's sealed or not sealed. If you get the not sealed, it's easier to work with, gives you longer working time, but make sure you seal it when you're done. That's the secret, okay? So you can save yourself some aggravation if you're not comfortable with the grouting process by going with the non-sealer option, right? And that's called Caracolor from Mapei. Or you can go ultra color if you're comfortable, get the sealer in there, and then you're in great shape. Sherry has to get out and do some work. Cheers, Sherry. Thanks for joining us today. Hope we were helpful. Thank you, Sandy, for being here today. This is great to hear you again today. Guys, this is awesome. Thanks a lot for supporting our channel. It really is awesome. We are working hard on the backside to try to help support you. We have some big announcements coming in the near future. Don't forget, if you're a member, you can be part of our live show December 16th from 2 to 4 or 3 to 5. Stay tuned for information on that. I'm going to be available. We can talk to members only, dig into some questions and problems, okay? And we're going to work on some solutions together and help to build this community and make it strong, okay? Want to do this every month, so this is going to be good. If you go to homerenovationdiy.com, Frank, we do have our stuff available there, all the links to all of our whatever. Everything is on that site. And if you're going to go shopping and you want to buy something from Amazon, use our link. Help support our channel that way. All right? Why not? Ain't going to hurt. And you can just follow the link from one of the videos and then go do your shopping. And then it's going to bless us. And that'd be great. I appreciate it. All right. Goodbye, everybody. That's it for me today. I think I'm going to go home and get myself some dinner and hang out with my wife. Cheers.